Welcome, everybody, to the wildcard round of the Bullet Chess Championship presented by Susquehanna International Group. Grandmaster Robert Hess alongside me today, as always, is Grandmaster Amon Hamilton. Amon, we have some serious matchups in store for everybody. How excited are for you for this to begin?
Well, Robert, it's good to be back today and the rest of the week. People have a lot of bullet chess to look forward to. If you felt spoiled during the pretty intense qualifiers that you and I got a chance to commentate along with Danny Wrench, believe me, it's only going to get better from here because there are so many strong players in those tournaments. I'd like to think that we found the best players from the qualifying bracket and we brought them here for the wild card today.
We certainly have. And let's remind everybody what the format is. It has changed from the qualifier to this wildcard round. It is a 12-player bracket overall. The top 4 players have a bye into the quarterfinals, and we will have matches of 30 minutes this time. There will be a break after 15 minutes. The players can regain their composure, and then they'll get right back to the chessboard for 1 minute plus 0-second increment chess. And if the match is tied after those 30 minutes, we get a sudden death where the higher seed gets the white pieces first. The prize money, Amon, it's pretty generous considering this is a bullet chess event. First place, 10 grand.
Hey, Robert, that's not too bad for what most people would call a pretty easy day's work. I mean, these are your regular bullet players playing a lot of 1-minute chess on Chess.com, and without increment, dirty flagging for money, count me in, Robert.
Absolutely. And it is going to be very stressful, even if it's quick chess. I mean, just 1 minute per side. There will be that dirty flagging, as Amon just highlighted. And let's talk about who will be doing said flagging, because we have our 12 participants. You will notice on the top right of the bracket there, Eric Hansen has replaced Dmitry Andreikin. He was not available to compete for this. So we have a last-second replacement, and it's none other than your chess pro partner, Eric Hansen. So, Amon, when you look at this bracket, who do you see as the favorites in today's matchups, which are Arjun Erigiasi, that's our first one, against Levon Aronian. We will have Vladislav Artemiev taking on Raunak Sadhwani. We have Eric Hansen taking on Minh, and we have Nihal Sarin taking on Bortnyk. So who are your favorites in those 4 matches?
Well, I think the most important thing is, establishing that Eric is indeed awake. Can't be the favorite in the match if you're not actually there. So I think there's signs of life, and Eric is indeed up and ready to go. The good thing for Eric, I would say, if you're going to come into a last-minute replacement, at least it's a very familiar opponent. Wonderful time, Eric Hansen. And they've played so many games on Chess.com. So that'll be sort of your classic streamer matchup. I know they've played tons and tons of games. And of course, I'm most excited to see Levon Aronian because Levon Aronian, Vlad Artemiev, these are names that we didn't see in the actual qualifiers, Robert.
That's right. And Levon, he is one of the best players in the world. We know that in classical chess and in over-the-board chess, but we don't get to see him play bullet chess that often. He does play in the Speed Chess Championships and other events, but it's a rare sight to have Levon partaking in such an event. So we'll see if Arjun Erigiasi can knock him out before he can even face Hikaru Nakamura. So let's remind everybody of the schedule, because today is the wild card round. You see in front of you, you know what time it is. It's right now. Tomorrow will be the quarterfinals. That is April 6th, starting at a little bit later hour. So that's good for you and I. Amon, we're going to be happy to start a bit later. And then Wednesday will be the semis and finals, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then finally, we have the All-Star Showdown on Thursday. That will be a lot of fun, featuring the likes of the Botez sisters, Maurice Ashley, Nemo, and others. It will be a really, really fun event coming your way this Thursday. But today, up next, is Arjun Erigiasi taking on Levon Aronian. Amon, I really don't know who to pick because Arjun, known as Gandhivam on Chess.com, he's really a beast.
He is, and we've seen that in the qualifying stage. I mean, there's a reason that the players who are in the qualifying stage are here right now, and that's because they survived not only 20 rounds against some of the best bullet players in the world on Chess.com, but he's also qualified through the KO brackets, 1v1 matches. So all these players 100% deserve to be here. And Levon, as you mentioned, is people don't know him in this 1 minute time control so much. Even SCC, he gets that extra second when he's playing his bullet chess. So this is a really exciting matchup between someone that people have seen a lot of in the last week, qualifying through the brackets, that is Arjun, versus Levon, who everyone knows, but we haven't seen a lot of his pure bullet chess. So I'm super excited for this.
Well, hopefully he is a top-notch mouse because he will need every second against a player as strong as Arjun Erigiasi. And we are about to have lift up. But before we do, let's give a shout out to the sponsors of this Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG. Big shout out to the presenting partner. Susquehanna International Group is a global quantitative trading firm that uses strategic games like chess to improve their decision-making skills, and one of the largest proprietary trading firms in the world. Thank you so much for sponsoring this event, and we are excited to have liftoff in the playoff stage. It is the wildcard round, and it will be Arjun Erigiasi versus Levon Ronin. The winner gets to play Hikaru Nakamura, the reigning champion in Bullet Chess here at Chess.com, and also the player who was taking down all the qualifiers, so showing his might. We know how good he is, and we'll see if the winner of this match even has a chance in the quarterfinals against Hikaru.
Yeah, I mean, you almost said it like it was a prize there for a second, Robert. The winner of this match gets to play Hikaru. I mean, Hikaru waiting for you in the next round. I'm not sure what that does to your confidence there, but at the end of the day, a match against Hikaru Nakamura would always be in everyone's best interest. Here we go, Robert. The games are off.
Oh gosh, and Levon Ronin playing an opening. I don't think we would see him play in classical chess. He has the c5 and e5 pawns locked center. He will need to strike with f5 later in the game to have any sort of counterplay.
Yeah, this is the thing about bullet chess, especially 1-0, and I emphasize no increment, as closed positions are often a lot more common, even by the top players.
And look at this, h5, he takes an f4, he's going to take this pawn h5. So Levon drops a pawn, but opens up the king set. So here comes rook h8, pawn g4, and will we see a quick checkmate for black, or will white's extra material tell the tale?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if black was going to be interested in some sort of blockade. Instead, this position is opening up here. So like you said, somebody's going to be in trouble here.
I think that white objectively it should be happy, but with no time on the clock, looking at this g4 square, and that's why Arjun puts his knight on g4. But Levon says, no, you're not locking this thing up. I'm going to get g4 in soon.
Yeah, and I think rook d8 and then g4 is a nice move in between, so you don't allow knight e4. Exactly.
That's what we're seeing here at f3. He didn't play g4. He plays f3 because h3 is a vulnerable pawn. So what about just like queen to h6 or queen f5 even better, so you can take on h3 with the queen and go in for checkmate?
Yeah, no, be careful. That rook is sliding over to h6, and we might even see, as Robert pointed out, something like queen takes h3.
Oh, and there it goes. Rook takes h3 first. Step one, you can't take on h3 the pawn, but you have to sacrifice your rook at f3 just next, and that second rook is coming. No, this has to be winning. Taking rook h6.
Yep.
Here it comes.
This looks very, very good.
Oh, a great defensive move, though, by Arjun with queen b3.
Amazing. Wow.
Oh, no. This is not what you want if you're Levon. Time scramble against someone as strong as Arjun Erigiasi? No way.
No. He has to be happy with how that game went, but he let it slip when he needed to convert. He needed rook h6 before queen f3.
Well, the action happens so quickly, we barely have a chance to show you what it will be. Maybe we'll have a chance later. But right now, Levon doing his best. He's keeping pace on the clock. He has pushed his pawn all the way up here, and now it's an even rook endgame. And Levon's speed is impressing me right now.
It is. This is very solid. I mean, are we going to see the full flag? Probably the rooks get traded, and there they go. A draw to start things off, and with that brand new account, Levon Aronian gaining about 61 points for a draw. Not bad.
We'll take those points. We don't mind that. And Levon going for this ultra solid London type of setup that now is transitioned into a Caro-Kann kind of with the pawn structure. And I like it. I think it's a good strategy by Levon, but he's already down 5 seconds in the opening.
Yeah, and that's meaningful. It might seem like nothing, even taking that 1-2 extra seconds to get the game underway, but it all adds up right at the end of the time scramble.
It does, but I like his position here. The light squares are weak for black over there on the king side. Here's queen d3, and after f5, that e5 square is very weak, and white can use it to his advantage.
What do you think about Levon taking that b pawn in about half a second? I would have a lot more deliberation before opening up my entire queen side for the rooks.
I have to admit, Levon has always been a fascinating player to watch, a very brave player. And yeah, you're essentially allowing Arjun to do to you what you did to him in the previous game. Go for the attack despite being down material. Oh, but the queen came back after f4, and there's going to be a mate on the light squares. There must be.
Yeah, this is absolutely not what Arjun wanted. And as we see, he's just going to continue with f takes g3 because he can't stop queen h7.
And here comes rook g1, and just rook takes g7, and oh no, this is going badly for Arjun here. But he showed great defense in game one. We'll see if somehow he can miraculously survive this.
Yep, and he's doing his best impression right now. Rook to b7, king to e8. He's going to run that king, and that's what he's doing right now. Queen takes f1. There was queen d6 there, but he decided to take it. Didn't want to fall for rook g8.
Exactly. They were in the swap and rook g8. Anyway, so at least he gets a rook and a piece. And there's this king on c2, rook h2 check coming.
Yep.
White has to be quick. Queen takes e6 probably works because that king on c7 is also extremely vulnerable.
Yeah, something like knight b8 needed, which is not the move you want because queen e5 is going to pick off the rook.
And Levon's ahead on the clock. So he started off down 5 seconds. And ever since that moment, he's played great chess and he's up on time. But he lost his rook there. And now he doesn't have too much material to deliver checkmate. So he needs to be very quick.
He does. And as long as he, advances the pawns with pre-moves, stays on the light squares, he should be good here. He not only has the knight, but he has a queen against the rook. And that is going to be enough. Levon Aronian, 3,200 already, and a first lead in this match early on, Robert. What do you make of Levon's play in bullet?
He's been very impressive, honestly playing better than I thought he would. However, he can't count his blessings just yet. He's only up one game. This is 30 minutes total of bullet, and Arjun Erigiasi is an absolute beast. So look at this opening, which I've been fond of lately, where you sacrifice your B pawn because you've already taken the C pawn, so you get the activity for black with knight C2 check.
But isn't it just queen b1 that was necessary after bishop b7? I feel like he's dead lost here, but my theory could be a little off.
No. You're absolutely correct. And Arjun went wrong here by bringing his queen to the king. It made sense to go for the attack. Unfortunately, the fork on c2, he missed it, and now he's just going to resign.
And I think that's smarter. Like, if the opening doesn't go your way, playing against Levon Aronian, you don't need to prove anything by playing on. You're just going to be wasting time on the clock that you're going to need back.
Well, now that I was losing a second game in a row, I would have considered actually running more clock to gather myself. It's very difficult to play bullet game after bullet game when you don't have time to recover. And right now, this is an interesting line against the London system where the knight has gone to fianchetto on g7, but that knight's coming right out to f5. And watch out for, white center's already collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, this is queen takes d5. Obviously, we can see the easy moves for white, knight e4, rook e1, rook d1. I actually don't mind this in a bullet sense because that bishop on c8 is just not playing the game.
I wouldn't mind it except for the fact that Arjun's playing very quickly. So out of the gates, Arjun had a time advantage, but this is the second game in a row, or maybe the third game in a row, where Arjun gets really quickly out of the opening, but unfortunately for him, he's in a tougher position, so he needs to start spending his time.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just easy tactics for Levon.
Oh, here. Queen c3, queen c7 check. That is unbelievable.
That's just beautiful.
But Arjun fighting, f2 square is a problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe rook a2 to a7.
That looked good, but now bishop's coming to d5. The g2 pawn could be under attack, and those A and B pawns. I think black is now ahead.
I think black's just better, and the problem was that A pawn. Look at these pawns. They snuck up to b5, a5, a4. They're all on light squares, can be protected. Bishop c4.
And you need to get that rook in the game, like rook d8.
Oh, queen e5, though.
Oh, yeah. Now rook d8.
Yeah.
Bring that rook to h8.
How did he let that turn around so quickly?
I think he just lost sight of the rook infiltrating. He should have put his bishop in front of the rook. Bishop d5, bishop c4, things like that. Keep that rook out of the game. And here's rook f8. And Levon, honestly, still has work left because he's up a queen. There's no checkmate anytime soon, so he needs to play quickly.
Yeah, and g4, that's really big for Arjun's position. If he can trade one of these pawns, queen f8 is huge, though.
Yeah, so now he's going to take the pawn g4. Oh, he got a queen! Bishop takes
the whole queen!
Oh,
that's my whole queen!
And Levon didn't move. Are we sure he's live on camera right now? Oh, my goodness. And that's what happens in bullet. The more you defend, the more resourceful you are. Arjun is amazing at defense, and that is why he won that game. He just did not allow himself to lose.
And, not that Levon doesn't know this, but I'm going to harp on one of the most basic bullet skills that you should have, which is that when your opponent has a bishop, you always move on the opposite color square. That's just a way to avoid blunders like these. Not like if Levon doesn't know that, but an oversight under time pressure there. And you see, moves to a light square, immediately loses the queen.
Wow. And look at this tactic. Knight takes d4 because the bishop on h5 is hanging. So Levon loses a pawn here. Arjun playing very tenaciously and takes the pawn, moves his bishop back. And look at those pawns, b4 to d4.
Yeah, the knight on a4 is really poorly placed right now. It can always be supported by an eventual b5, but I think this is concerning. And look at that move, rook e3. It says no queen trade for you.
No, I'm just going to double on the e file. May push not maybe, definitely push d5. And white has an advantage here, but Levon doing well on the clock. Arjun and him, they both have about the same time. Watch out for the back rank checkmate. So he plays g6.
Yeah, no, then this knight on a4 is a big issue right now. Pawn on c6 looks weak.
Okay, but here comes the wraparound, knight d5, just causing some problems here and there. And now h5. I'm just pushing that pawn, hitting that queen.
Yeah, and let's not forget the knight on c2 now is the knight that's not so good on the board. It used to be black's knight, but Levon did a great job rerouting.
Yeah, and this knight on e6 actually kind of contains that knight on c2, can't get into the d4 square. And now a5, that's what I'm going for, trying to break that pawn chain on the queen side.
And black's position is so solid here. Everything's protected, it seems. Knight e3, knight f5 is the idea.
Oh, knight f5 walked right into it. Oh, both players missed it.
Is there knight f5 again? No, there's rook g4. It doesn't work.
Oh, queen f6 though. There's queen f6. The rook's pinned. You can't play rook d7 to protect.
Oh my goodness.
And now queen f7. This has to be a win just easily. Just don't blunder on h4.
Hang on, rook h4 is coming. Oh, that was just too clean with the execution of checkmate there. Queen e8, rook f7, queen h8. Did not even give black enough. He didn't just win the piece to win the game. He saw that forced mate, and that was good technique.
And just like that, the match is tied 2.5, 2.5. We have just 4 minutes, about 45 seconds remaining in the first half. They'll take a break after that, and then they will play 15 more minutes of bullet. So the nerves might be there, but Arjun, he's gathered himself. He is now tied in this match, and with the black pieces in this one, he's trying to collapse white center.
Yeah, and I think that usually the player that, let's say is more of a natural bullet player tends, in my experience, to take a little bit more time warming up, so to speak. A guy like Levon, I think he's going to be fresher early. Or a guy like Arjun, I think he needs to warm up to bullet. And we're starting to see that right now. How relevant is that blunder of the queen going to be in this match?
Yeah, will it come back to haunt him? And right now the position is locked up. Black is up a pawn, but knight d4 says, hey, your bishop's on b5. It's not really moving anywhere. The c, okay, well now it's definitely moving. It's gone.
It's gone.
And I'm not sure about that decision, but I see what Levon's point is. Easy play for white, more difficult play psychologically for black. Rook to c1 or rook to b1. Which am I going to go for? And here goes rook c1 to try to push to c6.
Right. Now the pawns are sort of oriented in a way, and I love the move h5. The pawns are oriented in a way that the black bishop for Arjun here is going to be better in an endgame than Levon's, but Levon put that pawn on h5. Now he's got the g file, and I think in bullet, and you're penetrating from all sides, really tough to handle.
Yeah, and black's up a pawn, but that extra pawn is kind of useless right now. The pawn on d5 is blockaded, and now the king's on c6. You need to infiltrate. Both sides need to play a move like f5 or something like that to go in, and here's rook g8, good start. Maybe there's rook h8, rook h7, just to be a bit tricky.
Ooh, queen a5?
Uh-oh, and here comes the queen h4 maybe. There it is.
Yeah, and both sides are infiltrating.
But the problem for black is you only have the queen there. White has all these pieces, like rook takes a8 with queen d6 check to come. This is dangerous.
Yeah, but I think realistically, there should king b4
on king a5. It's safe, and queen d6 check and pawn c6. Pawn c6,
and the king can walk in as well.
Oh my gosh, you're taking f8 with check, and that's mate. And so Levon Aronian strikes back. That was a king walk, and you can't handle that.
No, I mean, we were wondering, hey, who's going to have the safer king? Well, it was actually white's king was safer because it's going to black side of the board.
Unreal, those dark squares under white's control there, so safe king. And now with your queen trade, this looks awkward for white. You can't castle, knight c6 comes, you're going to drop the e5 pawn. Yeah. So I think black's better.
This is typical bullet stuff. Even if you don't win that pawn back on e5, the games where you can just look at the development here. It's just amazing. Anytime you can do this in bullet, Robert, it's almost always good for black.
And black is down on time, though. So it feels good. And it's one of those things you thought that black would be playing instantly every turn. But Levon's showing that lack of experience in bullet chess. And so he does take his time. He gets good positions. But then he has to prove them against the speedster that is Arjun Erigiasi.
G3, not a big fan of. I don't really know why we needed to play G3. Maybe he was looking at the f4 square in a position like this. But f5, f4 is powerful stuff from Levon.
Yeah, it looks like there are many moves here that should be good. And he just goes f4 straight forward.
Yeah, knight h3.
All right, so how do you actually pile up pressure on that pin piece? Oh, you just made a draw.
You just make a draw, Robert.
Okay. No pressure. The pressure's off. We're just going to agree to split the point there. And all right, now we have a French. And knight e4, look at that. He caught him. He caught him pre-moving. Oh, my gosh. Arjun caught Levon pre-moving.
So the funny thing about positions like this is sometimes you're not even happy with what you end up getting. Your queen's on h1. You're going to, it's bullet. You're going to have to reroute a little bit. Obviously, a nice little bullet trick there. As knight e4, these are our favorite tricks, Robert. They're not blunders. They're fine moves anyway. Maybe not the best, but you're not concerned if they get caught.
Exactly. And Levon, anticipating a normal French defense, and that's why Arjun played knight e4, catching him off guard, so he won in exchange. But this is not easy. The dark squares are under White's control. They're playing on opposite sides of the board, and f4, that's a very, very, very good move, sacrificing pawn for the square, and now I think White's position is about to fall apart.
Yeah, it should just be over here, take on e3, take on f4. And I think he has to trade queens, try to go knight e2, but he forgot the g-pawn, and that's probably close to resignable.
Yeah, rook and 2 pawns for just a knight, and this is just easy at this point.
Yep.
And Arjun's the one up on the clock.
And that really was a nice move, f4. The idea of, like, I don't have any space for my queens and rooks, and you have to have open lines if you even want your material advantage to be felt in that case.
Rooks need open space, and look at now. There's a knight hanging. Nice h4, giving up the pawn for the knight. That is a resignation. And wait, is there time for one more?
That was like a buzzer beater.
Oh, but it seems like we are at the break, and it is a 4-4 tie, Aman. I don't know. I've been excited by this match. I've been impressed by both players. First by Levon jumping out to that lead, and then for Arjun to bounce back against Levon Aronian. Yeah. What do you make as we head to break?
I think we are truly seeing an incredibly close match. Not one that I think is going to be a blowout in either direction. Levon has clearly shown that he has the speed. I mean, we've both been impressed by it. And Arjun took a little bit of time to warm up, but I feel like he's finding his rhythm here. So 4-4 going into the break, especially this is only the first match of the day, Robert. This is just a great sign for what we have in store.
I do think the break comes at a bad time for Arjun. It feels like he's had the momentum. However, that's part of the rules. We are going to take this break, and when we return, there will be more from the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG.
I got into playing poker in college and really liked it, but never considered I could make a career out of it until Jeff Yass came and gave a talk at Harvard. Jeff explained that, yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis, which was exciting at the time. I thought it was really cool.
We can pretty much guarantee you that we will give you the best education. You will be taught all that we know in a very professional manner by expert teachers, and you're going to be mentored. And I like to think that there's no other place where you can get as much mentorship as you can at Susquehanna.
I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. I would say you're playing a game as a career.
It's very satisfying to me that we've been able to employ so many people, give them not just an opportunity to make a lot of money, but to be with the smartest people in the world and to have a lot of fun and make a lot of friends and create a culture of reason.
And we returned, ready for more exciting bullet chess here. Amon, that first half, 4-4. I couldn't even get out of my seat. I was still so jittery from it. What do you think is going to happen in the second half? Now the players had a break. They got used to each other's styles. Is it going to be Levon? Is it going to be Arjun? What's your take?
Well, I think that you mentioned the jitters yourself. That's just in the commentary booth. I think that the players probably had some similar sentiment because look at Levon blundering a queen, something you do not expect from a player of his caliber. That's just getting used to bullet, getting used to the format as we see the games are underway. And meanwhile, Arjun, I mean, he probably just hasn't played any bullet at all. And the first bullet games of the day, you're going to play Levon Aronian. I think it takes some time to get used to that.
I agree with you there. And look at this. Black has won a pawn, but white sacrificed it to gain the center here. There's 2 pawns there, E and D pawns for white, only 1 for black. And so a spatial advantage for white, but does it offset the material, Amon?
I'm not sure. Usually centers like this, I am too nervous about them collapsing to the likes of the move C5 or something like that. What we see C5 right away, I would have tried to put more pressure on the E pawn, but the idea is the same. He wants to target the E5 pawn now that white's played D5.
And look at this. The knight on h5 will be captured and can be captured twice, but the knight c3 is hanging right now. That's why knight e4 was thrown in, and Levon quickly brings that knight back. But it's just one extra pawn for black. The pawns are not very good. c5 is weak. There's some activity for white with the bishop pair. But I think all things considered, Levon should be happy to get to this point.
Agreed. I was going to say rook b8, and the rook has no choice but really to allow this exchange. The knight's going to come back into the game all the way to e8 and f6 if possible.
Wow, what a great call. Knight c7, knight e8, here comes knight f6. And there's no attack for white. You don't have enough pieces here. And that bishop on e5 is a hero. It is threatening mating ideas. You can trade off on bishop d4 at any point, and it protects all around the board.
Is there bishop h6? Is there some sort of crazy move like that? I don't think it quite worked there.
It didn't, and now you definitely can't do it anymore. The bishops are off the board, and now knight e4. Look at the dark square control. Don't blunder f7. Do not blunder that pawn. But Arjun is ahead of the clock.
Right, and that's increasingly relevant here as we see the really tough position for him. But if you're going to be in a tough position, may as well be ahead on the clock. Give yourself a fighting chance in bullet.
Oh, but look at this. The attack is coming. Knight g3, and the queen h1 mate. Can't stop it. That's a pre-move. You can't stop it. Impossible.
An actual pre-move mate.
Yes.
Bishop e2. That's what an experienced bullet player might do if there was lower time, let's say. But obviously Levon has that game in the bag. He comes back from the break, Robert, and immediately makes a statement with a win like that.
Yeah, that's huge because he's up a point. They're under 13 minutes remaining in the match clock. And a reminder to everybody, as long as the final game, there's 1 second, 5 seconds on the clock, that last game goes. And so you will have to keep our eyes on that. But right now, Arjun playing a solid approach against Lundstrom with the black pieces. I'm worried about black's king, though. Arjun playing on the queen side, but when all is said and done and the king side opens up, do you have enough pieces there to protect your king?
Yeah, and I was going to say, this is usually really tough to handle. Moves like bishop h4. You got like g4, g5 happening. Queen h3 is usually the really common follow-up move, but the queen side is opening up quicker than expected, actually.
Yeah, because white also took on b4. I wasn't expecting all that, but I guess there was no real choice. Some of the lines had to open up, and he trades on d7. Now he doesn't have an attack because that bishop is needed to attack the h7 square and the light squares. This is a very interesting battle.
Yeah, and I love how quickly Levon was able to transition from you thought this would be like a headless chicken attack all the way to, let's just win a pawn, slide the rook over to c2, double the rooks, and he's just playing chess again.
But Arjun is up 6-7 seconds here, and I think it's easier to play with the time advantage, although without safety for the king. Maybe I spoke too soon. Down goes the f7 pawn.
Robert, he's just like 50-50 between queen side and king side. Those 3 pieces are doubling and tripling on both sides of the board.
And here's trade off the rooks, but now rook c8. Okay, the d4 pawn hangs, and this is going to be a time scramble because white is up a pawn and much better. Yet without the time on the clock, perhaps Arjun can outplay him here.
Look at this knight though, completely stuck. You just walk the king up. It feels like. Okay,
and he's done just that. And
rook b5.
What an amazing move!
Wow.
But look at Arjun; he's still ahead in the clock.
Yeah, I feel like this one has got to be Levon's game. But let's just see exactly when you judge someone's speed, it's positions like this.
Oh no, he's got 2.7 seconds left. Take the pawn. Take the pawn. Okay, he can't lose, but he's not winning.
No.
I told you.
Yeah, you called it. You called it.
Oh man, Arjun too quick, and Levon trying his best here, but that's not going to do the trick. And Arjun Erigiasi there, how did he survive that?
I think that's not, well, okay, I'll be blunt. I don't think that's anything to do with his skill there. I think that was Levon just not being experienced enough in bullet to convert that. Something like 4 to 5 seconds with a position with an extra rook and bishop that you can pre-move is just, I mean, Arjun did well, but I don't think it was amazing defense. I think that should be a win for Levon's position every time.
Okay, well, speaking of wins and the position, I like Levon's position here, especially after the f3 move. Just retreat your bishop. You have the bishop pair. No weaknesses in Black's camp. The e2 pawn is a backward pawn, can be attacked later in the game. And wow, Levon just trades there and plants the bishop on e5, takes over the dark squares.
Yeah, and these positions are always so unpleasant for white because opposite bishop, so easy to make these pre-moves, and these pawns are so uncomfortable. I mean, king g7 just feels so solid for Levon, but I'm impressed by how white's playing this.
Yeah, and look at the speed. Up now 10 seconds is Arjun, and just take on e6. I think you can start trying to flag him. That would be my mindset in games. Not even, you want to play good chess, of course, but just make it interesting, keep pieces on the board, and make it as difficult for Levon as possible, because he's shown in time travel he may not have the speed to match up with Arjun Erigiasi here.
Yeah, and be careful because, oh man, bishop e6 is coming, h6 if king g7, maybe f4, so many things happening at once.
Yeah, I actually think he should have taken on g6 and put his queen on h6 so the king couldn't get to g7, but either way, this is still looking very promising for white. Just take and bishop. Okay, yeah, bishop f5 wins the g6 pawn. Oh my gosh.
This is just textbook.
Oh my gosh, take on f6.
h6, bishop e4.
I don't know if he's going to win on the board anymore, but he's going to win on the clock.
Yeah, I would just, yeah, as you said, just take the queens here. No need to sugarcoat it. This looks like a very easy win for white.
Yeah, well, now it's actually just winning on the board because the king went all over the place. Just take and go d4. Don't allow that pawn to queen, and that's game.
Yeah, and that d pawn will go. Bishop covers c2, and obviously in a position like this, you never want to pre-move as white because you just don't want to allow that c2 c1 trick. So when you're up that much time, that much on position, take your time. No need to pre-move and take the point home. And
Arjun just playing to his strength. Right now, Levon has the white side here. He's going to try to play a nice game. He's been playing technically very sound chess.
Yes.
A bit too slow. He's taking a little bit too much time.
Yep, that's one way to put it. But if I had to tell you how these matches were going to go, that's exactly what I would have told you coming into the event. We expect that from this match, that Levon is not going to be as experienced with the speed, but he's such a technically, beautiful player that's how he's going to get his wins. He's going to be a little bit slower, but he's going to compensate with the moves on the board.
Look at this position for white. You couldn't dream of a better position. The bishop pair, this pawn on d6, a thorn in black's side. No real active play for black. All the pawns control the black pieces. So look at that. Just going to win the c5 pawn. So rook a5, not exactly the move you want to play, but it holds everything together for the time being.
Right. And b3 takes. I mean, white's position is super solid, but I was about to say that d pawn is falling, by the same time the c pawn is.
And so now black is up a pawn. Levon trying to open up the king side for those bishops, and he's doing just that. I play h5 and g5, push those pawns through, but Arjun once again with the very sturdy defense, and he's up on the clock.
Such an impressive game. Like he's up 10 seconds here. We were saying it's the best position Levon could dream of, and all of a sudden that's it. It's over.
Bishop d6.
Bishop d6. Oh, the bishop's hanging though.
Oh, so now bishop d6.
Bishop c6 was needed.
Oh, okay. So what's the end game here? Looks good for white. Just push the b pawn. Don't fall into a fork.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what that forking position would be here.
Yeah, I don't see one. Oh, but the king got out. That's huge. He's showing bishop e7 rather than bishop e3.
Yep. This is not good. That knight is going to be really tricky to deal with.
And you can't even take the pawns. No, Arjun is going to... Oh, king e6. Bishop f6. Bishop f6. You had to play bishop f6 there. Oh, he got
king
the pawn.
f7. Oh, he's going to get the pawn with just
Oh, my gosh. He gets the pawn, and it's a draw.
The queen doesn't matter. At that point, no chance for Levon to win that game. So he did all that he needed to do, which is get that pawn off the board. That was like a 15 to 20-second time advantage near the end.
And what's so ironic about that is you think when your opponent doesn't have time, you need to play quickly to flag your opponent. But what Arjun should have done is think for a couple seconds to figure out a way how he could have kept his g7 pawn. He's 100%. Obviously losing at that point, but you need to keep the pawn so you can win on time.
100%. Yep.
And whoa. H4. That's a free piece. Oh, that was just a free piece. An opening trick for Levon Aronian, and Arjun walks right into it.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing, but I don't know if it was when he's just going to resign. Holy, that's the best possible thing that could have happened to Levon Aronian with the bounce back win.
Absolutely. And I think from Arjun, that's smart. You're looking at the match clock, just over 5 minutes left. You need to get as many games as possible when you're down. When you're thinking about it, I have a deficit. Levon is objectively the stronger player, but in bullet, Arjun has shown his prowess. He's showing his quick skills, his resourcefulness. And now I think with the black pieces here, well, this is as good a position as you could ask for in the opening.
Yeah, I was about to say F5 is the move that is really going to cement the advantage. And Levon plays C4 for good reason. If black got to play C4 there, I think the game might just be simply over.
Yeah, now bishop C4, you get a quick counterplay. You need to open up the position. There's a king on E8, knight C4. Here it comes. Knight. You want to play knight E5, you can't because the knight's there. Maybe I'll take on C6 at some point and try for knight E5. But wait, I did not love that decision by Levon.
No, he seemed like, at this point, Levon is doing what we call in bullet, sending it.
Yes. And king E6, what a calm move.
What a great move.
And now the knight D6 is hanging. It might have to go back. E3 is hanging with check. No, this is the trading queens. Look at that play by Arjun.
Yeah, that is really, really good stuff. Rook C2, Rook C5, probably even smarter.
And here comes Rook C2. So he takes the rook off the open file, puts it behind the pawn, and Levon just resigns. And
there's a reason that Levon resigned that game for the almost exact same reason that Arjun resigned the last game. You might think, oh, down a piece versus down a single pawn. That's not even close to the same thing. But the way that Arjun played that game, there's no counterplay. He knows that Arjun's a faster bullet player in time scrambles, and he's ahead on position as well. So he, I think, made the good decision to give that game up.
I agree with you. And I'm looking 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. So we could just have a couple more games left. And now it's an aggressive approach for black. You're missing that light square bishop. So, bishop G4. You got to get that bishop to E6. Just take over the light squares.
Yeah, absolutely agree. That was something that Levon allowed, but only briefly. He's not going to let that happen again, as we see a quote unquote free pawn. But I feel like nothing is ever totally free. There's going to be a lot of counterplay.
Oh, yeah, down the open F file. The good thing for white is having the bishop pair, and the king is, relatively safe for now, but I love this from bishop H6. No F4 for you. Mm-hmm. And the knight on E7 is the problematic piece. You need to be able to improve that one.
And he's just going to try to double the rooks, rook F7, rook F8, and then go from there. Something like G5 and knight E7 at G6 looks like something for the future.
Absolutely. It's a better position for black based on the strategy, but white is up a pawn. Look at this bishop on E2. It's pretty much useless against the dark square control that Levon has. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a gorgeous position. Probably, in longer time control as well, but in bullet, to have the knights here is just a privilege.
And the knights are not going anywhere. That's the problem is all of these white spawn from, B3 to D5 back to F3. They take away all the knight squares, and now F4 at long last.
Yeah, and you don't care about losing the rook on G5.
Well, now you might, because I can take on F1 first and then take on G5. Well, what's
E6,
happening here?
That's just a bullet move for you. Something to throw you off.
Oh, rook F2 because the rook on F8 discovered check.
And he takes on E6. That was beautiful.
But time. Look at the time. 8 seconds for Levon. He needs to checkmate him quickly.
Yep. Knight in.
Okay, good start. Knight takes H4. Now knight F3 check was a threat.
Rook F2.
Oh, knight G2. That can't be right, can it?
Rook F2.
Rook F2. Rook F2.
Oh, rook F2 is needed there.
And
knight F4.
Okay, queen D7, king H6. 1 second left. 1 second. He's not going to get time. He's on time. Take the pawn. Take the pawn.
Take the pawn.
Oh my gosh, he barely made the draw. That was unbelievable.
Wow. What a heads up play from Levon. Hey, you guys can look at the same game as us and say, look, Levon is too slow for this, but he is making it work with the skills that he has. He is winning on the board. And when he does have these slow games, he is securing draws out of absolutely nowhere, which is just as impressive as those time scramble wins.
And it is 7.5. We only have 1 minute, 15 seconds left. So if I blunder a piece, I'm resigning at the snap of my fingers because you get that one more game in. So you need to be aware of the match clock if you're both these players. I like what Arjun is doing right now. He's just pressing forward on the queen side. There is no king side attack. This is looking good for Arjun Erigiasi right now.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a king side attack. It might be black who's playing on both sides of the board here.
Yes, and B3 probably a good decision just to lock things up. The knight needs to get active. Knight to D3 at some point, but the bishop's coming to B2. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that bishop's in there, and it's just a thorn in white side.
Yeah, I feel like I might have traded the rooks in that position, although tough tough to make that decision quickly. This looks like an absolutely crushing game for Arjun here.
I would consider resigning this. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it looks so bad for White, and objectively the position's terrible, that I would think of resigning to conserve the 20 seconds to get one more game.
It's crazy. Decisions like that are so tough to make in the match situation.
And as soon as they say rook a6 happens and White's better, like rook takes e6 is happening. Like, it's unbelievable what happens in bullet games.
Yep. b4, b5 also ready to happen.
Oh, well, I don't know what that means.
Wow.
Okay,
My
he gives him a
goodness.
pawn.
Queen h3? Yeah. What?
Yeah. Knight f1 back. The knight's hanging on d6 and rook takes g6 would have been threat, but knight f5. That was
strong.
not a good choice.
Keep in mind the bishop might sneak in, like bishop c1, right when you least expect it. Like right now.
Right now. Good call. I think that this is just Arjun's game.
This is just the final bullet game. It's going to come down to this. It's all decided by this right here.
Great move, knight g4, though. Knight f6 is a threat. And there it is. And then rook can't go to a7. That's important.
Got to take it, no?
Rook d6. Okay, d5 and rook d7 check. Rook d7 check.
Arjun's playing slowly.
Yeah, e6 is... Oh my gosh, they're both in time trouble. Take the queen and just...
That's a really smart decision. I think he knows he can flag Levon here.
I don't know. Take on d5, take on c3. Go,
Nice
let's go. Oh, what a move. Oh my gosh. I think Arjun has it, but barely.
Yeah, I think he's got it, but barely.
Oh my goodness.
And that's exactly what happened. He has it, but barely, and he has that match in his pocket. But that was maybe the closest match we might see in this competition, Robert.
You couldn't ask for a closer match. He won with 1 point whatever seconds left, and that is the match. Arjun Erigiasi moves on to take on Hikaru Nakamura. Aman, we're both impressed by Levana running out of the gates, and he still had many good positions, but the speed of Arjun Erigiasi earns him that match. Wow, I don't even know what to say.
Like if we're doing the call and you sort of have the players and their skill sets mapped out against one another, it's almost fitting that the match came down to this, which is just a time scramble. It simply was Arjun was just that little bit more comfortable in every single time scramble. And that's the reason why he won this match. As we see in the final game, it was just about time scramble ability. And he was that little bit better than Levon Aronian in that category.
Well, we are going to go on a quick break. And when we return, we will bring Arjun on for an interview. We'd love to hear his thoughts. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back shortly for more from the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG.
We are back, joined by Arjun Erigiasi, this is an amazing way to start this Bullet Chess Championship wildcard day. Arjun, I'm going to go straight to you with, what did you expect from Levon, since not a lot of us know about his bullet chess, whereas we've seen you in the qualifiers throughout the last week?
I just wanted to learn from him. It's such a pleasure playing against him in any format of the game.
Absolutely. And, you showed your might. And I have to ask you about the one moment that I think turned the match when he played Queen F7 check and you took his queen. You were down 2.5 half at that point. How happy were you? You didn't show it on camera very much, but how happy were you internally when you were able to take his queen and then turn the match around?
Internally, I was very, very happy, very relieved that I got rid of the small tail.
Yeah, I think that moment for us was like a really big one in the entire match. In terms of maybe match strategy, I think you'll probably be the first one to say that flagging from your perspective is a skill that you probably have a little bit better than Levon. Is that something you were looking to utilize in this match when it came down to just the seconds? You were feeling confident there?
Yeah, the whole match I just banged on it pretty much.
I think you should give yourself more credit. You played some
Yeah.
really great chess. That last game with the black pieces, you were outplaying him for the majority of it. You were pushing down the queen side. And yeah, of course, something went a little wrong at some point, but you did a great job of playing on both sides of the board. So how do you balance that? Because I know that something I struggle with is determining when to just play very quickly or when to prioritize to stop for a few seconds and try to figure out the position more objectively.
It was a very topsy-turvy game, and I actually messed it up. I was worse, but fortunately, he ended up landing on the king's side.
Yeah, that stuff kind of happens in Bullet. You can never really take one evaluation and assume it's going to be the same for the whole game. Another thing about Bullet, with that in mind, is I was wondering, do you feel like you're the type of player that plays a bit better after warming up? Because it felt like it was a shaky start for you, nearly a 2-game lead opening up for Levon. But as the match went on, it seemed to us like you started to play a lot better.
True. The first few games I didn't play so well, but I warmed up a bit.
And yeah, I have a related question, actually. Do you sort of prepare for your opponents in a way? Because maybe it's not so much studying their openings, but is it just seeing how quickly they play in certain moments? Like, how do you get yourself ready for a Bullet chess match?
As this was 1+0, I didn't really prepare much. I just played what I know.
Right. Yeah. I think in Bullet, that's probably a good strategy. Don't change it up too much. Play what you know, what you're comfortable with. Speaking of the bracket, Robert and I were saying that the winner of this match moves on to play Hikaru Nakamura. So you've already touched on what it was like to play against Levon Aronian. What do you have to say about the prospects of playing Hikaru Nakamura in the next round?
It's again a match where I can learn a lot, and it's a pleasure playing against him.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate this optimistic attitude and just the respect you have for the game and your opponent. So, Arjun, huge congratulations storming back from the early deficit and defeating such a world-class player like Levon Aronian. You should be proud of yourself. Everybody in the chat was really excited by your play.
Thank you.
And there you had it. You had Arjun Erigiasi moving on into the quarterfinals of this Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG. And up next, the action does not take any break. We have Vladislav Artemiev, who played perhaps the game of the year recently with that queen sacrifice delivering a checkmate, taking on the young Indian talent Raunak Sadhwani. The teenager is super strong. He is an absolute monster in bullet chess. Aman, I always put you on the spot as we get the players set up here. Who you got in this matchup?
Yeah, that's one of your great pleasures in commentary, Robert. I don't blame you for it, but I'm going to take the torch here and say, look, I think this is going to be a convincing match for Artemiev. That's my gut feeling. Artemiev is an insanely strong player in Bullet, hands down. He's like one of the best in my opinion. So definitely someone to watch out for. If there's other things to say about the match, I think that there are a few probably like nerves or maybe just getting used to Bullet that we saw in the first match. I think over the course of more games, we'll start to see the better players shine. But that's why I think that the format chosen by Chess.com is kind of perfect. That 15 minutes break, 15 minutes means that you don't have a lot of time to warm up. You get down 2 to 3 games, Robert. That could be it.
That's certainly the case in many of these matches. And for Artemiev, I will agree with you because he is the higher rated player in classical chess, but he also has the experience that Levon Aronian doesn't in playing these bullet time controls. So I think with the skill and the speed, Artemiev is a dangerous opponent for anybody in the field. And it doesn't matter who he faces, he has a shot. So I will give the advantage to Artemiev, but I will not be surprised in the slightest if Raunak Sadhwani can string together a series of great bullet games and knock out the Russian superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such a streaky time control bullet chess. We see Artemiev, the players on camera there. Raunak, by the way, we've seen him in the qualifiers. It feels like he plays with such poise, and he's not really ever tilting when he blunders something. But you know, Robert, every time we see someone blunder a full queen on camera, they're never moving or flinching. It's like these guys have nerves of steel.
Yeah, I'm here yelling at everybody, breaking their eardrums, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. It's a typical game of bullet. So we're off, it looks like. I see the first game is just getting started here. Artemiev gets the white pieces, and he plays B3.
Yeah, and take a look at that rating that you see right there. 32-30. He's over 3,200 for a reason. We don't see him play that much, but he's got that rating for a reason. Very, very strong in bullet chess.
Although this position already looks not very good for white, I have to admit. And I play a lot of B3 myself online. So if you ignore the objective evaluation, we see the bar on the screen here. We'll just look at the position.
Right. Yeah, the doubled pawns here, obviously, in bullet, that's where something like this is more acceptable. When you get to longer time controls, this would be a lot better for black. But we see that knight going to F5. Robert, hopping into F3, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Raunak is playing this perfectly. He's playing on both sides of the board. His king is going to be safe on the king side despite the open file here. And as you said, knight H4. And especially if you take on G4 and get rid of that bishop, that knight will plant itself in F3.
Right, and he's made a decision, which I was wondering about. So long term, white's going to play queen D2, bishop takes A5. That pawn cannot be defended, for a while. But you can't forget about the king side. Both sides winning a pawn on opposite sides of the board.
Yeah, and actually, it looks like Raunak just stole the H pawn and now has an extra pawn there. And I don't even speak anymore. You just keep going to mine.
Well, at this point, I feel like Raunak is happy with what just happened. He's obviously got the knight against the bishop, but there's going to be quick play here for Artemiev and up on time for Raunak Sadhwani. This is probably the difference in the position.
And I like what Artemiev did because he's objectively in big trouble. So he at least opened up the C file to go for a counter, but the queen on H2 covers the C7 square, and that's not
F8.
good news.
He allowed queen F8.
And rook C8? At some moment, rook C8, take on G5? Oh, queen before check. Queen before check would be at least a draw for black there.
Oh no, this can't be right though. Oh, queen B5 check, queen A5.
Oh, yes. He walked into it. It's winning.
He wins the rook.
And nicely done by Raunak. Good tactical awareness. And this is just
and he's getting the pre-moves in queen E7, queen F7, and I think that is going to be the first game. And wow, we've seen shaky starts from what who you would think might be the favorites in these matches so far.
Yeah, the high-rated players are struggling out of the gates, and look at their bullet ratings, actually. Artemiev over 3,200. So it wasn't us just talking. He has played many bullet games, and he's over 3,200, much higher rated in bullet, but not a good start, but a great start by Raunak. All credit to him.
Yeah, and I was going to say bishop A6, so we do see probably queen E1. White's going to maybe think about playing B3, C4, trying to lock down both of those pieces at once.
Mm-hmm. And that's why Artemiev went knight to D5, and there goes the knight to F4. And look how quickly Raunak and queen E4 lined up. The C6 pawn at some point should be captured, but I guess the B3 pawn is a weak square too.
And C5 opening up that bishop on B7, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to see those bishops come alive.
Oh, yes, they are. And with the bishop pair and plenty of time on the clock, that should spell some trouble for white. Look at the bishop on B7 happily placed there. And if you take on A8, the queen can land on A8 and line them all up.
Yep, queen E8, great move as well. Heading to C6. There's also rook A2. A lot of good pressure to put on the position. Also, just rook D8, trading pieces is totally fine here.
And Raunak avoids it, but queen D7 and the D files under black's control. Queen D3 to trade the queens and just take over.
Yeah, queen G4, queen H3, those type of ideas, and there's one of them on the board right now.
And he plays queen back to D1, trying to trade the queens off. He could have played queen H3 there. The G pawn is sort of pinned to the C. I don't know, the C the bishop was defended. Never mind. I'm blundering queens. Not my game. It's okay. So right here, it looks really good for black up a pawn.
Yeah.
And how do you actually make progress, though?
Yeah, after knight E4, he wants the C5 pawn, and it's not the easiest thing to stop. In fact, he says, look, give
E4,
that pawn up.
E4, bishop G4 check. There
Wow,
it is.
nice.
That's it. Sorry to cut you off there, partner, but I just was catching that tactic.
As quick as Vladislav Artemiev did. And look at that. Robert and Vladislav teaming up for a very quick win. That was a winning tactic, and he executed it next game.
Yep. Everybody, it is 1-1. We see the scoreboard's not updated. We will get that updated as quickly as we can. But you see the score on screen in front of you too. It's 1-1 right now, and Artemiev gets the white pieces. It's kind of like this interesting structure where Black's king may feel a little unsafe, but now Raunak is trying to keep everything together, consolidate, and kick White's forces back.
Love this position for White. If Black ever plays c6, then the d6 pawn is so weak as a result. And f4 for White is often a good way to counter the g5 advance. It's actually White who suddenly starts playing on the king side.
That's right. And now, instead there's a capture on d5, and White plays f4. Both sides could have played f4. I think Raunak should have gone for it, because as the position opens up, look at these light squares. You don't have a light square bishop, e6, f5. That's a problem for Black.
Yeah, and that's just the understanding to go for f4, because you look at this e-pawn, you might never think to do that. Love the decision by Raunak trying to play on the dark squares. Often works in bullet.
Knife to check, knife 3, knife ef3. Oh, and e3's hanging.
Yep. Rook h5. He should have taken more care of the e3 pawn there, and still a very tricky position, but the fact that he could get rid of the other bishop makes this a lot more manageable.
If this bishop could somehow get to d4, then we're talking, but that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. He lost all of his pawns.
Yeah, rook g4 here.
Just try to trade off a pair of rooks. That's what Black wants to do here. Okay, rook f7, I guess.
I like that the bishop is getting f6. It's a good attempt.
Oh, but there's queen e1 check after king h1. You can't block with the rook. You lose your bishop. Otherwise, there's queen g1 mate. So that's why he brought his rook up.
Rook back? Hang on. It's not so clear.
No, it's not clear at all. Bishop f6 is such a big threat.
Rook g6 only move.
Oh.
That I can think of.
Yeah, no, king g2. And all of a sudden, it's 2 rooks for a queen and a couple pawns.
The rooks are so tricky here.
It's mate! Oh.
So I think king h4 was his attempt to try to set up a checkmate with rook f4 to f6 mate, but queen e5, the perfect reaction, stops that mate and says, well, hang on, we're threatening checkmate. I could do that too.
Yeah, setting up checkmate for both sides is what just happened. And here we see an early queen a5 check, scooping up the pawn c5. Raunak Sadhwani up 2-1, has the lead in the early going. Still plenty of time in this match. You see on the screen ahead of you 23 minutes and almost 30 seconds. So plenty of time. We'll get that break after 15 minutes. So look pretty good at the opening for Black. You could take on d3, give White this isolated pawn. No weaknesses in Artemiev's position. So far, so good for him.
Totally agree. I mean, look how simple it is to play. Rook d7, rook d8, just attacking weak, isolated pawn in the center of the board, knight d5. This is just textbook play by Artemiev right now. And especially in bullet, I think this is even better than in a longer time control.
Yeah, he just gives up the rooks for the queen. So it's actually reverse situation now. And Artemiev will have to use the queen to his advantage, but they're safer king for the side with the pair of rooks. So I think that Raunak has good chances.
Yep, totally agreed. Rook takes d4, huge threat. But Artemiev is definitely going to be aware of that.
Rook d7, knight takes f6. What's the...
I would be scared here.
Oh, but where's the king go? I guess king h2, queen takes f4 check. So he takes the rook.
Yeah, so there's a draw here, and I'm looking if there's more, but I don't think so.
He just takes the draw. He's up 2-1. He's why risk anything?
Yep, both players. And I don't think Artemiev is going to repeat exactly what happened in game 1, right? Although Raunak has already changed it up with g6, but you were already highlighting during game 1 how that opening didn't work out for him.
It's one of those openings you just play for the sake of it, and then you get crushed. And you're like, yeah, I shouldn't do that again, right? Just not recommended.
Right.
And okay, he's playing for an h1 threat. Knight takes g5. G5 is that? Okay.
Yeah, I think you take that and play
h6. And bishop f6 is knight e4.
Yep.
This is already winning for White.
I'm pretty sure.
What? Queen g5?
Queen g5, knight, or queen h6. Ooh.
No, I think knight. Oh, where's the mate?
Where's the knockout blow here?
Where's the mate?
How about just knight e4, queen g5, queen takes g6? Although f4 certainly looks fun.
Yeah, he's in the castle queen side even. You can just play.
Yeah, he can just play. I was thinking maybe f5 and knight d5 check.
Mm-hmm. That actually looked really nice too.
I'm not convinced by this.
No, because his pawn d4 is such a thorn for White. You can't push your e-pawn. You can't open up more lines. And if your king on c1 isn't that safe.
Yeah, what's going on here? Rook c2, though, I like that maneuver. covering c3, covering b2, and making a threat on c7. That's actually really good.
Okay, so I would take on g6, go queen takes g6. That rook on c2 is a hero.
It is.
And where's that king going?
Queen g4?
Oh, queen g4 to e6 looks really strong. Queen takes g6, probably not out of the question either, but I like queen g4 more. It's threatening.
Yeah.
So
because you have queen e6, queen takes f6, and then making a new queen, and all the pieces join the attack for mate. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the finish to this game.
all right, queen e6, take on f6, exactly as you said. What?
I think you might have rook h7. Rook H7. Oh, there's queen e1 mate.
Wait, queen b2? Oh, the d6 pawn is hanging. And now rook h7. Wow, that was brilliant.
Holy smokes.
That was brilliant by Artemiev.
And now takes on d6 and queen b8. That was an unreal game.
That was absolutely sick. He gave up checked so his king could run away and then played rook h7 so he's not getting mated.
Yeah.
How did he see that?
Yeah, that was, I mean, the time it took for me to see that and register it, I mean, not only am I flagging, but I've also gotten myself mated in one.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's why, wow. Just
still trying to make sense of it as they're like halfway through the next game.
Yeah, we're still on that last game. That's what happens to chess players, but we will lock into this one. It looks like Black is trying to collapse White's pawn structure over there on the queen side, and he doesn't take on g3, an important lesson in tension. That bishop on g3 couldn't go anywhere, so he saved the turn, then took on g3, and now is just trying to take over the a file.
Yeah, and we see here the two bishops I always have a preference for, but don't underestimate the knights. I mean, an h6 is a great move to stop g5.
Yes, and queen d3 trying to get into the h7 square at g6, and we're seeing a bit of repetition here. Knight h4, okay, and I'm wondering, is Black going for e5? But e5 gives up the f5 square, so it's a bit dangerous. Wow.
f4 committal, and I don't know if f4 was necessary there. Everything just falls apart now.
And look at Raunak's face. He like kind of slapped his head. He's like, no, this isn't going well.
It's not how you play it. And
no, it's not.
7 and look at those pawns, Robert. G5, 3 connected pass pawns with the bishop pair. Got to convert this.
Just take it. King e6. Take that next pawn, and then c5 is about to fall, so just resigns. And 18 and a half minutes left, so we still have 2 more games at the very least before we get to the halftime, the break. And for Raunak, I think that break is necessary. It feels like he's starting to lose the thread a bit, and maybe I'm just saying that because of the score, but Artemiev had that beautiful checkmating attack and then just won that last game by breaking open the center and winning some pawns.
Agree. And just as quick as that happened, he can bounce back, but he will need some sort of momentum, some sort of energy shift in the other direction, because right now it does feel like, as we've talked about, that phenomenon of the stronger player kind of waking up in bullet and starting to get in a rhythm.
Although it looks like Black just stole a pawn in the center, and I'm not sure about White's king, but now I see the eval bar going up for Artemiev. This is a wild position. Neither side knows who's really better, but watch out for something like knight f6 check and like bishop h6 and queen g3 in some sort of order. That looks scary.
Yeah, definitely. There's some queen g3, knight f6 stuff to look out for here. Knight b4, queen a3.
Oh my gosh, you take pawn takes a3, and now both your minor pieces are under attack.
But what do you do?
Oh, if CB, AB, and the A file opening up is bad for White. So he just leaves the bishop there.
Oh my goodness. And he says, please take me.
That's just a round of applause for me. This has been a phenomenal showing by Raunak.
No rook d4 because the rook on f1 is hanging.
That was unbelievable. Again, look at the triple stackers on the C file.
Got the Irish pawns, queen a6. And I'm not even sure if I like Black's position.
Well, the knight on a6 is doing the lion's share of the work here, protecting c7 and c5. And Artemiev's up on the clock by a couple seconds. That could be the difference maker.
Knight d3, huge.
Oh, that's great.
Anchoring with c4, that was really well done.
And there's like a mating attack on, and d1 hanging, rook takes b2, rook d2 check. But wait a sec, this still ain't that easy because your pawns aren't very good on the queen side.
This is probably the worst 4-pawn advantage you could have in chess. Still amazing, but definitely not the best as far as 4 extra pawns go.
No, and 4 has become 3, and Raunak doing a great job throwing those occasional checks, just causing White some problems here on the clock and also winning on the board.
Nice. Rook b3. Sounds like crazy to say nice after missing a free rook, but that was a pre-move, and it was a check, and it was on a defended square. So that's the best kind of pre-move to do. Yeah,
that was a very wise play considering the situation. It just helps optimize his winning chances, he felt. And now we see an even score, and we have a Caro-Kann and this queen a5 check, take on f5. So he didn't have to double his pawns, but he spent time doing it, bringing his queen out.
Right. Yeah, this is just a solid position. Queen b5, not looking to give up the b7 pawn, and also not probably not that interested in taking. I think neither side wants to trade the queens here, technically.
And he only takes after the rook left the a file, because I was giving a semi-open a file to white. Now black has control of the open file. So very nicely done by both players there. And Artemiev, I think he has a slight edge. And this is where I feel like the skill, like classical chess and experience pays off. Those openings, those little things there. But what I'm impressed about by Raunak, rook takes e6, by the way. Okay,
yeah.
no longer. But rook takes e6 was an idea. Is that Raunak responds instantly. Like, even if he doesn't know things for certain, he just goes. And that's impressive.
That's what you need in bullet. You need that go mentality. F6 played, and I like it. G4 and G5. You can't stop that with H6. This is going to be really powerful for the white pieces.
Although there's some kind of knight D3 situation happening. So he does take an F2 check. He can't play knight D3.
Is this just
up a pawn.
Knight G. Yeah, you got to keep the pieces on.
And B4, good move. Trying to undermine the defense of that knight there. B takes C3 is possible. Knight C6 checking D6. So this is now turning in Artemiev's favor.
It is, yeah, and just slipping away here as rook C5, knight takes C3. There's rook C3 check.
Very important. And now knight D3 is a threat, so you want to watch out for that. Wait, knight D3, rook C3. Nicely done. Just perfect tactical.
And rook E1, take with check and rook D1.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Oh, great move though, king f4, because that's rook D3, there's rook C5. So he's hanging in there.
He is.
Okay,
Should
H5.
be a win. I think just bring the king over.
Rook D5 check. Nice. Waited for it. Dragged the king to 5th rank, and that's game. And Artemiev wins that one. So it is going to be break. I think this game's going to be canceled. There it is.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been a really back and forth affair, Aman. I feel like Artemiev, he has all he can handle right now. Raunak Sadhwani is not a step behind. I think it's actually a very even match thus far.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Raunak was out of the gate flying. You mentioned up and down. Definitely felt like a great start for Raunak Sadhwani. Artemiev seems to be finding his footing, which is a scary thought. When a 3,200 bullet player gets comfortable, that's what you want to watch out for. However, Raunak, as you mentioned, he has a lot of things in his skill set, like being able to just make that immediate move, not overanalyze the position. We haven't seen either player just getting crushed on time or anything like that. So I felt like the match has been very close thus far. We've just been treated to some intense bullet this morning, Robert.
We have, and we'll see if the players can keep it going. We are going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be the second half of the second wildcard match in the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG. And as we return, we remind everybody of the bracket of the players taking part in this wonderful Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG. You see that we're in the match on the bottom left. Vladislav Artemiev takes on Raunak Sadhwani. We already saw Arjun Erigiasi beat Levon Aronian. So it's the super GMs taking on the Indian teenagers in the opening round. Aman, even after this, even after the second half of this match, we'll still have 2 great matches ahead.
Yeah, and that's the most exciting part of today, the wild card days. We get to see these players who have qualified from the matches that we commentated last week, and we get to see them facing off against one another, ultimately for a spot in the semis and finals of this tournament.
Indeed, where the opposition only gets tougher. We have 4 players waiting in the next round. It's Hikaru Nakamura, Alireza Firouzja, Andrew Tang, and Danya Naroditsky. It's the bullet specialist, the who's who, the upper echelon of the bullet sphere. So we're excited for that, but I'm just excited for the next half of this match to go because it's 4.5, 3.5 in Artemiev's favor. A 1-point lead, the minimal margin you need to win the match, but Raunak Sadhwani is not going to be deterred, and here he goes with the black pieces.
Yeah, and this matchup, a little bit of a shift here. Bishop on g5 instead of the bishop f4 that we have been seeing, and c4 immediately saying, look, queen b6, you want to take my pawn? I don't care, go for it. This is bullet chess.
And I think it's a good decision by Artemiev to switch it up. You don't want to get your opponent in a comfort zone. Now it's just a new position. Look at the double pawns, the king on e8. Not going to be a truly safe king for black.
Yeah, and rook g8. Well, if you thought he might be castling kingside, not happening. Rook g8. He might go queenside castling, and bishop h3 already thrown out. Some pressure on the kingside early.
And look at that, just king h1 getting out of the pin, bishop f3, giving up the h2 pawn, and he takes it because after g3, you're taking on g3, ripping that king open.
And that's a decision. I mean, obviously he's going to take it. Both of these guys are happy to be in this position right now. I'm not sure which side I prefer.
I feel like I prefer white because I don't see the checkmate, but then again, I'm going to regret that as soon as I say it.
And it's also about the time. So if you can keep the time level, that's all you need with the white pieces. As black, sometimes you don't need your attack to work. You just need to be up on time.
And look at this. The defense turned into offense at the snap of your fingers because that king on b8 is no safer than the king on g1. The king on g1 actually has a bunch of pieces defending it. But where is the mate? You would love to just remove the d5 pawn. Not so easy. In fact, d4 was captured.
Right. And I'm not actually sure where the mate is. Oh, allowing rook e7 seems bad, but there was king d6.
Queen takes d8 next, though. Pre-move that. That's a free rook. Okay, right. So knight f3. It's still not over. It's an exchange now. It went from a piece to an exchange. Or sorry, wait, what? It went. I'm losing track of the pieces. It was a piece that it went.
It was a piece and then a free rook. So now it's like, anyway, we're here now. We got these 3 pawns on the king side. And a3 super important. As white, you got to protect the heck out of your remaining pawns. You're going to need them to win this game.
Oh, well, that's what seemed to be the wrong move order because now he's just going to try to kick the king out slowly, shuffle back and forth. How did he see that so far in advance?
Yeah, it's really impressive here.
Oh, don't push that pawn so much. It's going to be a draw.
I think this will be a draw.
Yeah,
only black could win this game, but obviously Artemiev is way too quick getting over there.
Yeah, Artemiev started pushing his a-pawn away from his own king. He needed to have the king support, and he would have been in a winning position. But instead, we see a draw. Good hold by Raunak there. And Definitely. Now it remains a 1-point match. Artemiev takes the black pieces, and it's a calm opening from white. No central tension just yet. E4 is what I expect.
Yeah, we need to see e4 from white. Otherwise, black might think about e5 and e4 himself winning a piece.
And we see some trades here. Isolated pawn for black. I tend to feel like it's easier to play against the isolated pawn in bullet, but there's too much activity for black right now. The pin on the knight on f3. Oh,
and I was about to say c3. If you take this knight, all of a sudden, yeah, knight e6 is a great response there, keeping the bishop under attack. Bishop takes h6.
Hanging pieces, lesson number 1. When you could take your opponent's piece, but yours hanging. Maybe you could take something else in between, and there goes the h pawn.
Yeah, a nice desperado tactic there. And basically, he's just got a normal position up a piece. He's even got the bishop pair to boot. There's bishop takes e4 or knight takes e4 that both seem to work here.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. Normal position, but the h pawn was gone, and now it's 2 extra pawns, 2 bishops for white.
Yeah.
Artemiev's in trouble, but he should try to play this out. There's the f2 pawn. Maybe you'll lose sight of that. Rook to d8 comes, and maybe there's some tactics that black has available to him.
100%. And position like this, though, if you're Raunak, you gotta chalk this up to a game that you need to convert. If you want a chance in this match, positions like this, you can't go without grabbing a full point.
And speaking of grabbing, he just took that pawn on b7. I wasn't even looking in that direction. I was like, oh, how do I get my rook out? He said, no, that's pawn. Make it number 3. And black has no attack. The f2 g3 is very stable. And he's going to try Artemiev, but he's also down on time.
He is. And h5, g5 is going to be the answer. King h7 probably. Tricky move in bullet, but really nicely answered by Raunak.
And the only threat was queen h2, which was actually mate. So he plays rook to h1, which is also good for the attack. And don't blunder f2, and you win this game for white.
Rook e7, such a quick move, dealing with queen g6 so effortlessly.
And actually, I think bishop takes f2 was an idea there when the queen was all the way on the queen side, but it doesn't matter. Raunak too fast, way ahead in the clock, and now just winning the game.
Yeah, that was a really, really good game, and he needs that to bounce back in this match. And are we tied up 5-all?
We're tied 5 points apiece, and right now back to the b3. You know, everyone's favorite Nimzo Larsen opening and d4. Got to play that and just try to open up the center. Watch out for knight f3 check.
Knight c3 here probably.
Yes.
And you just follow up with eventual h3, f4, queen d2, and he's going to be long castling. So this should be a very fun match.
And knight e4 doesn't threaten anything, but he's trying to get to the f6 square. So maybe it threatens more than I gave it credit for. Because if the knight moves, knight f6 check. Oh, gosh. Oh, he takes it. I thought for sure he was going to get the bishop on f6 and just go for that kind of attack. Instead, he allows the king to find some safety.
Queen's heading over to a5. There it is. And offering the queen exchange that pretty much has to be taken if you're in white's position. Not sure who I prefer. Rook
h7 check. Rook h7.
That's a nice move.
Oh, he's baiting him into it.
Yeah, that was a good one. Good spot.
The thing was, I was looking for soft points in black's defense, and the f6 square, I was like, oh, maybe I can get that. And yeah, rook h7 is coming now without giving up a rook. And that looks scary.
He's had enough of that fancy stuff, Robert. He says, look, let me protect the rook and throw it in there.
But now black is losing at least a piece, because after knight e6 blocking, you just take the knight and the rook in some order, and now you lose a full rook.
Yeah, there's knight c3. Actually, there isn't. It's checkmate in 1. So
yeah,
can't even try that.
Knight can't move its mate. Raunak throws in the towel in that game. And Artemiev, look at him. Stone cold. He hasn't not emoted a single time.
Yeah, I that's the thing about Artemiev and the thing about good bullet players, I think.
Did you see that, though? I don't know why, but all of a sudden he kind of grimaced. So it's the opening.
Must be.
Did he miss some kind of queen a5 check or something? Like he really was not happy with what
happened. Queen a5, bishop b4 maybe could have been thrown in there, but I don't think it was anything too bad.
Yeah, but that's that super GM mentality where you make even the slightest mistake and you're upset about it. But now he's up in exchange, and Raunak, I don't think has enough compensation. In fact, doesn't really have any compensation at all.
No, this is really tough because this is going to take some time off the clock and could still result in a loss. But obviously, you do play this one on.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you, at what point do you start just resigning? Because you're down 1 point, you're likely about to be down 2 if you are unable to save this game. Which, wait a second, rook d1.
He's playing it like this is all intentional.
Yeah,
rook b1 is a big move next.
Rook b1 looks great, and a queen a7, hitting g1 and a2.
Ooh, queen a7 would be nice.
So
I'm not convinced by this at all.
No, not even the slightest. Okay,
queen f1 mate.
Queen f1
mate. Oh, right when he basically got out of the woods there, I was going to say, because he had the 3 connected pass pawns over there. Sure, they're not mobile, but at the same time, I didn't see how black was executing a checkmate other than just threatening mate in 1.
Did you see Raunak kind of his hand gesture there? Like he's like, oh, whatever, it's a throwaway. I think he kind of had resigned as soon as he lost the exchange. And that happens to us in chess, where even when we get chances and we're playing well, we're so focused on that memory of how could I just lose that piece like that? So unfortunately for him, he was not able to rebound, but the e3 pawn is now his. So black is up a pawn, and that's good news for Raunak. He needs to win his games.
Yeah, and we saw Artemiev do something there that is really important in bullet. He played f3, knowingly giving up that e3 pawn. He didn't want to deal with an attack from Raunak. He says, hey, I'll beat down a pawn just to have places for my pieces to go and make easier, quicker moves.
And it's justified, yet he is down a pawn. He is worse in this position, but look at this, h4. And black is the one with the less safe king right now. Maybe you can play on both sides. All right, so how to make progress for either side? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is white going to play b5 at some point to kick the knight? Well, the knight goes to e7 and back around to the The king side does it without b5.
Right. And queen back to g4. Knight d5 coming up soon.
Okay, goes to g6. I like your knight d5 move, though.
Yeah, is g5 just hanging here?
Yeah.
This is getting worse.
Wait, knight's pinned. Rook's under attack.
Oh,
knight 6 check.
Oh, what a nice move.
The knight fork.
And that wasn't to win material. That was to save material because it looked like he was about to lose something there.
Uh-oh.
Grab
A7.
A7.
Yes, it's not the Fischer bishop. That bishop goes around and... All right.
Yeah,
so
this is just bishop b6 winning.
Wrong pawn. A pawn's the wrong square. So if for black you can somehow trade off some pieces, especially the kingside pawns, you have a better chance, but you're losing f4 directly, it seems.
Mm-hmm. King
Wow.
d5. Just look at the knights getting dominated by his bishop.
So if you trade one pawn and then take the you take the B and C pawns off, you're gonna make a draw.
Mm-hmm. He
You
still
just
has
don't-
hope here.
You don't have enough
E5,
time.
A5. He's getting rid of the A pawn. He's too smart.
Bravo. That's really classy stuff there. And just don't go C6.
Yeah, he knows better. Really nicely done. That was a gorgeous endgame.
It was, and that looks like it is probably the match. Actually, I shouldn't say that because as long as you start the
As
third
long as you
game,
start the game, yeah.
so there is enough time, but Raunak needs to win this game. I
Yeah,
take it back.
100%.
It's not over yet, but he absolutely must win the game, and he's going for this Magnus Carlsen type of fianchetto on the queen side, Sicilian Newcastle queen side, and he's going to push his pawns forward. Oh.
Yeah, d5, a very quick reaction in the center of the board. Normally, that's a very good sign if you're black to get to play that move.
And I think he could have taken on d5 with his knight because the bishop on g7 was left undefended there. So still...
Opportunity missed because a lot of pieces are getting traded. And if I had to pick a game where Raunak was going to win, this wouldn't be one of the first ones that comes to mind.
No, now the queens are getting traded. Black is the better pawn structure. White is ahead on time, though. So Raunak needs to play quickly. And look at this, king to e3. All of these moves make sense. He needs to maintain the lead on the clock, but there are 30 plus seconds left for Artemiev. Too much time.
It does seem like too much time. He'll be happy to trade here.
And then get the rook to d2 now.
Yeah. Oh, this is... You're definitely not winning this unless it's on the clock. So you may as well keep trying to play quickly. And b4, b6 would be a terrible end to that game.
Yeah, self-mate. And well, rook d4 looks good. King can come to d6 if you need. Oh, I like that move though. The b6 pawn. Now Raunak has some chances. Rook a3 or rook b1. Okay, protects the pawn.
B1. Big
And
fan
c5.
of that.
Okay, took that one. I feel like white should be better here, despite being a pawn down.
Yeah, I get that feeling as well that the pawns should sort of advance like.
And he's taking the h pawn.
5.
Taking h5. I think white's winning. Rook h1 back, and then push your c and b pawns.
Yep.
c7, king b7.
Yeah, he's got this.
Oh, rook a1, nice move, and then queen, and then the b pawn.
Oh, well, that makes it easier.
But Artemiev, I think maybe he should have played it out.
Yes, he not only should have played it out, but he should have played rook takes c8 regardless. So there's a few things that, I mean, Artemiev could maybe put this match away if he just extended the game a little longer.
Right, because this game started with about 2:20 on the clock, 2:15, which gives Raunak enough time if he's able to win this game. But that's a big
another must-win situation.
All right, and now G7 is hanging, but G2 is hanging in response. So F3 played. We've seen Artemiev play that move many times in this match, and he's just trying to play as solidly as possible. But he's down 6 seconds.
Yeah, and Sadhwani knows exactly what his win conditions are here.
Yes,
he needs to play quick.
And he's trading out the pieces. A lot of people say, oh, you need to win. Why would you trade pieces? Because he's playing quickly. He knows that he can win this game on the clock, not just on the board.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with his position either. He's got the 2 bishops here, and he's going to try to keep them. Bishop c8, yep.
Mm-hmm. He could have taken on c4 before, but he's just making quick moves. He's like barely thinking in depth. He's just making moves based on feel.
And I really like the move g4 just in terms of the match right here from Artemiev. He can play a4, c4, lock things up.
Right, and b5, you just leave the pawns there. You do not want to see that bishop get into the game. And he plays f4. Is Artemiev playing for a win?
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that Artemiev doesn't really care about the situation. He's too objective.
And well, he can play bishop d6 and trade off the dark square bishops. 97.
Yeah, 97 is just sitting there, and that is the match.
That feels like it, because there's no way that Raunak can win, especially after the trade there. No way to win the game, and in fact, you're just going to lose it.
And there we go. That should be, I think they'll still have time for one more game, but that should not impact the outcome of this match.
Yes. And well, Artemiev, he is making his way through. He seems to be a very worthy competitor. I said beforehand that I thought that he could match up against any player in the field, no matter if it's Hikaru Nakamura or Alireza Firouzja, who he will face in the next round. But Artemiev, he had moments where he struggled. So it's going to be interesting to see what he needs to fix in order to take down a heavyweight like Firouzja.
Absolutely. And that is an exciting matchup to look forward to, as we see G5 from Artemiev, the full send on the king side. And I mean, hey, when someone attacks you, Robert, obviously you're a little scared. When someone attacks you and it's Artemiev, I'm a little more scared than usual.
Yeah, Artemiev, after beating Mateusz Bartel in the game of the year, he's like, let me just send that G-pawn down and go checkmate my opponents. That was really fun the first time. Everyone seemed to love it. A Godbator made a video about it, so let's try it again.
Yeah, give it another go. Bishop hanging on H3, by the way.
Yeah, that queen on B3 is such a sneaky piece, going for the attack and the defense across the third rank. He's going to sack on G2. Yeah, you had a sense that it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got the match secured, so may as well have just a little bit of fun.
Oh, queen takes G8 was possible there. A knight D6 check.
That's a nice tactic. That's a really nice tactic.
And here in knight F4, knight E2. Okay, you get, what, 2 minor pieces for rook if you're white?
This is very reasonable.
Should be good for Raunak in this final game. Okay.
I like avoiding the exchange there. The 3 pieces I think you can utilize a lot better than, the knight and rook for black.
Yeah, they're awkward pieces. And now with pawns, pass pawn for both sides, the pass pawn for black not going anywhere, you can start playing your F pawn at some point. But I like that he's keeping his pieces together for now before deciding to push the pawn. Yeah,
the thing about this position is black can always go like knight takes F3. It's just like run the pawns and pray.
Yeah, and there goes the pawn all the way to F6. The king comes up to help, but then I can go back to E6, I guess, to defend the F8 square. What a weird position.
What a weird position.
Oh, okay, he can't take on F4.
Knight F8.
Oh, he trades. He could have promoted. We're gonna knight and bishop. No time for either player though. So who's actually gonna win this game? Both sides have chances.
Should be winning, but he's actually black probably wins this game in practice. A2 is not the winning move. If this was like came down to it, Robert, crunch time, I think black plays king c3 and flags there, but the match was already over.
Right, didn't need any more victories. He has won this match 9-0, 6-0. Vladislav Artemiev moves on, and Aman, what a performance by Artemiev, because he lost game 1 and then he stormed back.
Yeah, and we've been seeing that time and time again in the matches so far. We'll see if that continues in the upcoming matches. But the higher rated, or at least the person that we have as probably the favorite, the more experienced bullet player, tends to take time to warm up. But once they get going, Robert, they don't really stop.
No, they're not. But we must stop for now. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll bring Vladislav Artemiev on for a post-match interview. You will not want to miss his thoughts.
Robert and I are back, joined by the winner of the match you guys just saw, Vladislav Artemiev. And Vladislav, it seemed like at the beginning of this match, it was a slow start for you. As you lost a few games early on and had to make a comeback. Did you feel like you were a bit nervous or just getting used to bullet at the beginning?
Yes, I think that it was very difficult match for me because my opponent was a very quickly player. He is very young player. So before the match, I wanted play more solid, but I understand that it's very difficult to control without increment. And it's true that in first part of match, I have big problems. And only in the end of match, I have some advantage maybe. And I'm very happy that finally I won. Yes, because I think if we had 1 second increment, it was more stability. Because it's more about calculating variations.
Right.
Yeah.
And Vladislav, I have a question for you. Some of these, especially the younger players, they play 30-second chess. Do you play 30-second chess ever?
No, never. I like blitz usually.
Mm-hmm.
Example, 3 minutes plus 1 or 2 seconds. Okay, sometimes I played title arena only chess.
Yeah.
1 min. Yeah.
And well, speaking of title events, you've done very well in the Title Tuesdays recently. I think you've won 3 events in the last couple months.
Yes, I was winner of a few great events on Chess.com. I think that I have 5 victories in Title Tuesday. I won 2 tournaments in last year, and in this year probably 3 tournaments.
Very impressive stuff. And maybe that is a little bit more to what you were talking about with the increment, that you have that +1 in that tournament, and you've played in some speed chess matches before where it's always 1 minute plus 1 second. So did you feel in this match like you were kind of racing against the clock, as your opponent, as you mentioned, was very quick in this match?
I feel that I was more nervous than usually because I think that my opponent was more quickly than me, but not many. Yes, I wanted to have some control and trying to play positionally usually. And when I have black pieces, I choose g6 sometimes, bishop g7, and okay, I think that I doing good work, I think. Yeah. And it's a very interesting experience, but if you want to have my opinion, I will choose increment.
Well, I have a question for you, Vladislav, because you're moving on to face Alireza Firouzja, a player you know very well. What do you think about that matchup, because he is such a strong bullet player?
Yes, I think that it will be a very interesting match for both. But still, if objectively, Alireza a little favorite maybe, because he had a good practice in bullet. I remember how I watched his matches with Daniel Naroditsky, and it was less than 1 min. It's very, very fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch what the best bullet players in the world can do with little time. But you yourself, Vladislav, definitely among them, and we certainly enjoyed watching the match today. So congratulations on the victory, and we'll certainly see a lot more of you in the remainder of this tournament, and good luck against your next match against Firouzja.
Thank you guys for your support. It's very pleasant for me. Thank you.
Of course, Vladislav.
Very welcome.
Have a great night.
Yes, we'll wait tomorrow match. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was Vladislav Artemiev, everybody, a super grandmaster from Russia, one of the kindest players you could possibly meet. always great with the interviews. And well, Aman, now that one's in the books, we have probably a pretty personal matchup to you next as Minh, GM Minh here on Twitch, takes on none other than Chess Bra, Eric Hansen. So, I'm going to ask it. I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask anyway. What do you think about this matchup? Who's the favorite?
Eric's heavy favorite, easy win, Chess Bra all the way for life. But no, this is a replacement match. Obviously, I'm happy to see Eric in the competition, getting some games in, but he was available as the last second replacement. That's just the Chess Bra lifestyle, Robert. Always available as a last second replacement.
Well, he is ready for action. He has a very tough opponent in international master Minh, the only IM in the field, but a GM in all of our hearts and just such a strong player. So we'll see if Eric's able to take that one. And before we get into that match, we just want to give another shout out to SIG, Susquehanna International Group, for sponsoring this event. And if you want to use your gaming skills in your career, SIG is a leading global proprietary trading firm that uses game theory and decision science to win in the financial markets. To learn more about SIG, visit sig.com/chess. Whew. Aman, we are 2 matches in. That means 2 full matches to go. It is Eric Hansen, your partner over there at Chess Bra, and he's taking on Minh, who we know is a superstar in his own right. I don't know who the favorite is. I'm going to give the slight nod to Eric. I think that he has less pressure on him. He just got invited. He didn't even know he was going to play. So I'll give that to him.
Yeah, I think, all jokes aside, it's definitely a very intense matchup between 2 players where you sort of feel like the ratings that they have coming into this aren't really going to factor. Like if Eric comes in rated 3,200 and Minh comes in at 3,000, I think we both know that they can play at the upper echelon of bullet chess levels, and I don't think that's going to be a factor at all. We know both of these guys are capable of 3,200 ratings at all times. So Minh definitely probably has a little bit more practice recently in bullet. I don't think Eric's been playing as much bullet chess, but when we saw him in the qualifiers, Eric was the guy who missed out on qualification by half a point, 1 point every single time. So it felt like he had an unfortunate performance where he kept missing the qualification, Robert. But at the end of the day, that also shows consistency throughout.
Yes, and for the sake of full disclosure, Dmitry Andreikin had to withdraw from the event, and at a moment's notice, there was a replacement needed, and that replacement is Eric Hansen. So it was a scramble to find it, but Eric stepped up, and we'll see how he is. And I see him on screen. We'll show him in a second. He looks a little sleepy. I'm going to be honest with you, Aman.
Well, I mean, this is the AM after all, Robert. The chess bras barely even know what that stands for.
Well, it stands for another match for us because this is the 3rd match of 4 today in the wildcard round. The winners move on to the quarterfinals where they face the 4 seeded players, Hikaru Nakamura, Daniel Naroditsky, Andrew Tang, and Alireza Firouzja. And well, we're off. I see that game 1 is starting. Eric is the black pieces.
Wow. That is a quick start, and we are in here ready to go, and the players actually do come into the match. Speaking of ratings, very similarly rated, and already with E5, I mean, this is a quick start here.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, Minh is a system player in bullet chess, and he plays them extremely well. Very solid approach from White's point of view. And the big question is Minh going to play with like C4, E4? Well, Eric says, you better think again because your queen on A3 would have been under attack.
Right, and knight E6, already A5 happening. I feel like this is a fantastic start for Eric because you see the eval bar trickling up there when Eric's not even up a pawn.
No, but he goes bishop G7. Instead of trying to take on B4, the rook on A8 was hanging. He goes, let's go after the C3 pawn. That's a new weakness once you played B4. So Eric is also up 20 seconds on the clock. Yeah. Not going well for Minh in game 1.
No, I mean, look at how long he's been sitting in this position. I almost wondered if he nearly disconnected or something because that was like a 15-second think in a 1-minute game. Unacceptable, and I think that's just, game 1 jitters.
And I was saying, I thought that Minh would be more nervous because he's been getting ready for this match yesterday, all day today. And Eric's like, wait, match? What are you talking about? I'm sleeping. No, you're waking up real fast here. And this is it should be a victory for Eric. He's up several pawns and he is well ahead on the clock. So game 1, looking to go Eric Hansen's way with the black pieces.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot more about the time. Sometimes in a situation like this, the conversion is not always perfect, but you glance over at your opponent's clock and wait a minute, I have double their time. I just need to make moves that don't hang pieces.
Oh, he hung a piece? You are the ultimate jinx. He hung a bishop as soon as you said that.
I'll be over here. Just you finish off this game for me, Robert.
Wait, and actually now it's like closing in on a potentially drawn rook endgame, but the extra time, that's going to be the difference maker here. But Minh is so fast. Is he going to make up this time deficit?
It would be truly impressive here. 4 seconds to 14 is, unless there's like a repetition, there's just no way.
Yeah, and king f7. Oh, he's getting one of the pawns. It doesn't matter though. Just no time.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, just take the rook now, and you actually might be winning on the board there.
Yeah, and I even like the decision not to take the rook because you don't even want to allow the possibility of something trading and simplifying. So Eric's conversion, you can see the most upset player with that result is Eric Hansen.
Yeah, look at him. He's like, I cannot believe that just happened. He's trying to gather himself. And this is the Danya Naroditsky, the second move D5 from Minh. It seems like these players rub off on each other, playing so many blitz and bullet games. And the bishop on E4, looking nice for Eric in the center. There's a lot of tension there going on. Bishop B4 check, probably castle kingside for Minh. So yeah. I think it's a reasonable position thus far. It just, it's not going to be about this opening stage.
I think so. And it's such an interesting opening. Queen B1, talking about a double attack.
Oh, gosh. As soon as he castled B7 and H7 under attack, Eric definitely has the better start of these two players. That's clear.
Yeah, but, you know, actually, we haven't seen the person with the better start end up doing well in these matches so far.
That's a very good point. The slow starters have been winning the matches thus far. And D5, what's happening there? If bishop takes a rook D1.
Yeah, it looked like a rook D1 takes on D5, queen takes C4 trick.
Oh, very nice. Very nice spot there. And I was going to say queen takes D6, but then I realized it's a pawn protecting that knight. So yeah, I was going for a fancy tactic that would have just blundered a queen.
Well, that's what fancy tactics are there for, to bait you in sometimes. Rook E3 is heading over to G3, and watch out because the attack for white is actually going to be crashing through. It looks like open files for black, but the black king is weaker than white's.
Yeah, there was rook E7 there as well. It said rook to H8, so trying to get some counterplay here. What? Oh, that's a blunder.
Rook
that's a blunder.
takes E6, rook F4.
Yeah, as a DE6, rook F4, EF7. He just moves the queen back.
Yeah,
wow.
I think you had to go for like the rook E7 type of stuff there and just admit the piece is gone. But what's happening here? Eric's up on time, but Minh has been playing fantastic this game. Really good defense.
Yeah, but I think the time here is such a big factor. Minh is so fast.
He's so fast. F4
oh my gosh.
as well.
Yeah, queen G3, F4. The queen's trapped otherwise. And now Eric's down on time.
Yeah, and this is just lost.
Wow.
Lost.
What a turnaround.
We'll see, though. That rook on H5 is a little awkward.
It's true. And now they both have 6 seconds, so they're both playing really quickly. And Eric is super fast himself. So F4. Yeah. That rook's trapped.
F4. Big move. Huge move.
King E3, King F4. Pre-move that. Oh, okay. Gets the bishop.
Some serious moves coming in right now. The king has shelter on D6 and F6. He's going for the mate. Minh saw that.
Oh, but time, and Eric gets it.
Oh, these players are so expressive on cams, Robert, that when I look over, both of them are mad. I don't even know who won the game from the webcams.
No, it's really just an absolute bullet brawl at this point. Both sides were down to the waning seconds and the winning milliseconds. Really impressive display from Eric, who was actually down 11-8 at some point. And now in this game here, the queen and bishop lined up in the long diagonal, but white is very solid. This knight on D5, not going anywhere, does protect the E7 pawn. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm always frustrated to play these positions from both sides.
And bishop H6, this is a very important idea. Knight F4, so it caused Minh to go for a lot of these trades. And usually, once you get to this type of position, Robert, where you play B5, simplify a pair of pieces, you're really happy as black.
Yeah, because white doesn't have any active play here, and black is just creating bad pawn structure for it. Black is one pawn island from H7 to D6, and then white has these scrambled pawns, including isolated pawns.
Yeah, bishop back to G7. So saying, look, that bishop on G5 not doing anything. And then after queen H4, it starts to reevaluate with the attack coming.
And I like rook E3, rook E1, knight G5 at some point. Just cause some threats because that's what scares people in bullet chess.
Yeah, and if knight D5, there's knight G5 as well, coming over to the H7 pawn.
Okay, and is there some kind of rook F3, rook takes F6? Probably too obvious, but he goes for it.
Rook E6, just, please take me.
Yeah, that would be something there. And all right, now we have trades. So black is feeling safer in terms of the king, but
yeah, those trades help Eric out a lot, in my opinion. And that's why he's going rook C1. Great move, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is a great move. And the clock situation is better for white, Minh up on the clock, and has an equally unsafe king. So I would say that based on the time, but taking the position into account, anyone's game right now. I would take
Absolutely
white
agree.
though. I would take white.
Taking white here with the time, definitely the smart choice. Are we going to see G5 F4? Yeah, it has to happen.
Okay, he doesn't play F4. He could have. Now he can't because Rook G5 is hanging. Wow,
It's starting to get annoying.
Annoying for both though. Just Queen D5 would have.
However, this is starting to get easy to pre-move for black, I would say. You can make pre-moves around your king.
Right.
Um,
And just keep the queen and king in line with each other.
Exactly.
Okay, and Minh barely on the clock now.
There was a hang queen there, but obviously these guys are pre-moving. G4, tricky move, but I'm not sure it's good. Look how easily Eric's pre-moving.
Oh, and then the queen goes down.
Yeah.
And now Eric's up a queen and pre-moving and winning the game.
Yeah. So this is what I was saying. Even though Minh was up on time there, what Eric was able to do was pre-move the queen right next to the king. You're never going to get caught in a pre-move. And what was Minh doing? He was taking his queen. He's moving it 3-4 squares away from the last move every single turn. So tough to make quick moves to keep up with your opponent there.
It's just one of those positions where the extra material makes it too easy because there's not much left. You can't create threats. So Minh couldn't handle that in the time trouble. And now we see a very solid approach from Minh once again. This is a typical pawn structure for him, no matter which color he has, with the pawns on B7 and C6 and F7, E6, and what just happened on the king side.
I was going to say, what is that? That just looks bad.
Yeah, I think Minh might be tilting. He's like, I am down 3-0. I need to start winning games, but this is more likely to be a loss.
Queen F2 looks solid.
Yeah, the knight comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop F4 just to protect your knight. Okay, Rook D4, nice move in fact.
Yep, and Minh's doing well on the clock here. If he can sort of establish like a knight on D5, maybe knight D6 from him next, definitely still has chances. Knight F5, and this is anyone's game in bullet, I think.
Yeah, because the king safety. Black's king is very safe, tucked away over there. White's king is wide open in many regards. And D4's hanging. So if he took with the pawn, he would have taken on D4. So now he took this way, and D4 still is a problem, so he protects it.
I would love, crazy enough, I would almost just take black in bullet because you're making threats every single move. Bishop on B5 doesn't contribute, and black's position is so solid.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you here. And he trades rooks. Queen takes H3. That's what, 3 pawns?
It's too many. The bishop is doing nothing. That's the problem.
Well, now it's doing something. He said, Amon, stop talking trash about me. And F5. Wow. So Queen B6?
E5. Oh, I don't know about E5, actually. This is double-edged.
Yeah, I was saying Queen B6 or Queen D8, Queen H4, trying to make a draw that way, but perhaps didn't work.
Queen C4, Bishop D3.
Okay, but 4 pawns now for the piece?
Yeah, but I do like White's king safety.
Knight G5! Knight G5!
Is there draw?
So there would have been a mate if the king went to H7, so that's why the king went this way.
B4 is happening.
And now
the A-pawn's running.
But 3 seconds. 3.8 seconds. And he throws an F3. Okay,
Eric is catching all the moves. King D2?
No, he doesn't have time. He doesn't have time.
Not enough time.
And he had the draw with Queen A4, Queen D1. He could have, if he had more time, he could have just forced the draw, but no time.
Right.
So Minh strikes back.
And he needs that. He really needed that. We almost said that this game was just him sort of tilting it away with that sacrifice. I'll say it again. That sacrifice didn't look good at the beginning, but he kept the speed up, and his knights found outposts. And it turned out to be exactly the game that he needed for a chance at this match.
Oh, gosh. And still anyone's match. There's 20 minutes remaining here. We get a break when there are 15 minutes left in it.
Yeah.
But right now with the white pieces, Minh trying to get a second victory in a row. And he's the isolated pawn, but his bishop on H2 is actually a sneakily good piece. Knight C4 to D6 is on the horizon. And I guess that's why Eric puts 9 E4, just taking control of the center.
Maybe Queen D5 here. He goes Queen H4 is also makes a lot of sense. That you mentioned that isolated pawn on D4, not anymore as the F pawn joins it, but that F pawn on E3 suddenly means there's a lot more weak squares around White's king.
But look at that fine Knight D7 with the fork of the rook and the pawn on B6. White is up a pawn. Queen F2.
Yeah, I'm scared of moves like rook takes D4 in general, like bishop coming to D4, but it's not quite possible there.
And bishop C7 could have went rook C7 as well. Now White is up a clean pawn.
Yeah, Knight F5 though.
Knight F5 is.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see the pawn.
Me neither. I was like, Knight F5 is forced, and then he takes the pawn there. So Knight C4 only move. Okay, rook. Oh yeah, you can try to take this knight here on C4. So what does White do?
Yeah, there's no E4. The bishop can take the rook on C1.
Okay, so rook C8 and
what's going on here? Just take on E3.
Yeah, isn't. Oh, and if rook C3 is knight D1, and if rook C1 is knight G4.
Oh my goodness, the rook is trapped here.
The rook is gone.
What are the chances? Bishop F8, great move as well. Take C3. Rook A3.
And Bishop H6, rook E3 mate. Bishop H6 was, I think, leading to a checkmate there.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Taking too many pawns here. Oh, and he mates himself as well.
And Minh just laughs, but I don't think it's a laugh that he finds it very funny.
Yeah, that's a that's a face.
That's a laugh so I don't cry moment.
And we've seen this opening before. So this is actually the exact same game where he just sacrificed on G3. Not sure that he's going to do that again, even though it worked out last time.
That's right. So now came back to F1. It's a very solid setup for both. Now E5 at some moment to try to break open the position is what I would go for. And Minh just brings knight to D5 instead.
And I feel like Eric has been sort of shuffling the knights around like for 5-10 moves. And Minh has actually improved his position significantly.
He has. And if you take on C5, bishop takes C5, black is the isolated pawn, but the bishop is staring at F2. And that's why Eric put his knight on D4.
Yeah, knight E4 coming up. I mean, I think this is very tricky. Bishop D4, obviously threatening to win a piece right now.
Yeah, so you could probably just take the pawn, right? Bishop D4 and CD, maybe queen takes D4. But instead he goes for the more active approach and knight D6 to C4. Very nice play by Minh right now.
And sometimes you can even sack on E3 here and go knight E4 at the end. It's just all over those dark squares, and bullet can be very tough to handle.
And now C3 is weak in addition to F2, so the knight comes back to E4 with a double threat.
And I was thinking maybe knight E3 instead of D4. Say, look, I'm going to lose the C pawn at some point. At least let me hit the D pawn at the same time.
I thought there was knight E2 fork, but there's a knight on D4, so it's okay. And now rook C3, rook C5, rook B6, rook B5.
Yeah,
rook
B6
B4.
and rook B4.
No, this is winning for black on the spot. Oh, sorry, I forgot about rook takes D5. My bad. I thought the rooks were being forced off the board. I spoke too soon.
I still think this is winning because of the time and the extra pawn. So you might be able to save your comment there, Robert.
It might objectively be a win. We need to bring out our Devretsky's endgame manual. And nicely done by Eric, though, to make sure he didn't have a 2 on none, but to make it a 1 on none on that side of the board.
Yeah, no, this is actually really well played by Eric. I still think he's the favorite to lose this game, but it is really well played by him to try to earn a different result. F4, I'm not a big fan of that move.
Yeah, no time. King F6 and A3.
Yep. And now you're hooped.
Yeah, just check, play A2, and then just pre-move some random stuff is what I would do for black.
Yeah, remember, the thing is, you say pre-move random stuff. I would never pre-move because of rook takes A3 as a trick when you have so much more extra time. But the sentiment is there that you can do whatever you want and just win on the clock.
Right. I was actually thinking just give up the pawn and start trying to give some checks. But you're right that if you are careless with your pre-moves, then your opponent pre-moves and takes your pieces. So, yeah, here this looks like another solid setup here for Minh. And B5's committal. The dark squares on the queen side are ones that white wants to take advantage of.
Yeah, and here I wonder if Eric's going to go E takes F6, and he does, just to try to stay on that E5 square, control some dark squares, because as you mentioned, after the move B5, very committal.
Right, and that's why the bishop's left on B3. If you take on B3, the knight takes back, the knight jumps to C5. The knights do better in these close types of positions, and I think I would move the bishop from F5 and try to go F5 with the pawn. That's actually what he's doing.
You're calling it, and it's either going to be F5, F4, or he's just going to leave the pawn on F5, clamp down on the E4 square, and improve his position in the meantime. Bishop F6, King G7, and go from there.
The problem for white is you don't really control the pawn break, so B3 is a good start to get some under your control. But F4 for black, B4 at some point can be considered, and yeah, it's such a locked up position though.
Maybe Bishop E8 or C8. Yeah, basically, if black can trade these knights off, I think he should be very happy with the position.
Now it's as close as it gets. So
maybe
F4.
H4? Yeah, F4, H4. We were thinking of the same thing. Just try to imbalance the structure over there, even just a little bit. In bullet, though, this is big favorite to white. Oh, but he blundered a pawn.
So you're doing well with the with jinxing people right now.
Well, I think I owed Eric one for the last one.
That's true. And Bishop E7 was important because knight takes G6. I feel like there's some tactics here.
At the moment. Bishop takes F6. Oh my goodness.
Queen F3, and Queen takes H5.
Queen F3 is a very strong move. King G7. Do you still go H5 or can you take that knight now? Oh, pawn takes.
That's just so nasty.
Yeah, Eric's just given that the nod of approval. Like that was well calculated.
Yeah, good job, friend.
Yeah,
because there's Queen H7, Queen H6 check. That was the point.
So good.
Oh, we can even show it. I think it's a halftime, so we can show the that final thing. Queen H7. I think Queen H6 is the precise thing. And then
Bishop to F5.
Yeah.
Take this guy.
Ouch.
Yep. That's a good finish then. Where did we end up? Is it 4-2 going into the break? I felt like Eric had a really good first half of this match, But right when the match felt like it might slip away, Minh won some impressive games. And whenever Minh has won on the board, it's been an amazing calculation. And he's usually been up a lot of time. As we saw, he was up 20 seconds in that last game, just crushing.
Yeah, very impressive showing there by Minh, who bounced back after a rough start. But Eric looks to be in charge. He's playing very well under duress. Even when he's down on time, when they're 10 seconds per side, he is able to kind of outlast Minh in the resulting time scramble. So very impressive this start by Eric. We are going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll have more from this match from the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG.
I got into playing poker in college and really liked it, but never considered I could make a career out of it until Jeff Yass came and gave a talk at Harvard. Jeff explained that, yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis, which was exciting at the time. I thought it was really cool.
We can pretty much guarantee you that we will give you the best education. You will be taught all that we know in a very professional manner by expert teachers, and you're going to be mentored. And I like to think that there's no other place where you can get as much mentorship as you can at Susquehanna.
I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. I would say you're playing a game as a career.
It's very satisfying to me that we've been able to employ so many people, give them not just an opportunity to make a lot of money, but to be with the smartest people in the world and to have a lot of fun and make a lot of friends and create a culture of reason.
And we return ready for the second half of this match between chess bra Eric Hansen and GM Minh Lee. also known as I Am Minh Lee. He is an international master in title, but by strength, he is one of the absolute best on the server. Aman, 4-2 in Eric's favor right now. Do you think he has this under control?
Well, first of all, it is 4-3. I called out 4-2 as we were going into the break because the game had just finished and the score hadn't updated. So it is 4-3, just to make sure everyone's on the same page here, mostly for myself. And that feels a little more representative of how close this match was, and especially the win by Minh Lee going into the break.
Yeah, wow, I can't believe I also missed that. And what's 4-3 to clarify for everybody, especially ourselves. And right now, Eric has the white pieces. He's trying to, make things happen here. And this doesn't look like what he wanted. It's a pawn on d3, and that's going to sit there because the light score bishop.
Yeah, bishop on g6, hitting the pawn. I'm even thinking, like, how do you even maneuver around to trade for that pawn? And I can't see a way to do it.
No, that pawn is going to stay put. And, well, I guess you can play bishop e3, and the pawn can't make any real progress. So Eric is thinking, I don't know what he was thinking about. Maybe throwing queen e8 check in first, but he instead just brings the bishop back. And now, do you like the outside pass pawn potential for white? Because that pawn is blockaded very firmly on d3.
I do. I do like, even here, b4, b5, a4. I can see this working out. As you can see, computer eval has it around even, but I just feel like white's blockade is so sturdy.
Well, trying to take away the blockade and walks into this pin here. Queen f3 spotted by Eric very quickly, and now he is up a piece.
Yeah, and you can take on c4 here, I bet. And, I mean, even though the bishop's attacked, dark squares, right? The bishop on g6 cannot participate. You just play queen e3 and push pawns now.
Yeah, the knight can just jump into the action. It's not doing anything on c3 that's necessary there. And here
just
comes
b7,
a6.
queen b6, and
that's a resignation. Eric Hansen wins. So he's up 5-3 now. Score is clarified. And both these players have played so many bullet games. So even though Eric has the lead, you can't count either of them out. I mean, Minh in particular, I think he's played just 20,000 games.
Yeah, some incredible number. Just think of doing something 20,000 times in your life. You'll probably be pretty damn good at it, Robert.
Wow, 20,024 bullet games. And maybe that doesn't include these games that we've just seen, but either way, over 20,000 games of bullet chess. And right now with the white pieces, he's showing his might in this format because that knight on d6 is very powerful. The f7 pawn is a weakness. A rook comes to e1. You can't put a rook on e8 because of that knight on d6. It looks very promising for Minh here.
It looks promising, but knight d5. Get that guy on d5 ASAP. Block the bishop on b3 from hitting f7. And this is actually probably going to be more manageable for Eric than you might expect.
I'm looking at knight g6 to go knight e7 because the knight on d5 is pinned, but that f4 threat was so powerful, trapping the bishop on g3.
So I was going to say maybe rook b8 just to, finally move that light square bishop. But after this, bishop f5, I feel like Eric's totally out of the woods.
Yeah, he is. And his position is starting to look good, but be careful along the e file. That's the one thing. Is maybe I'll give up a pawn somewhere, but if my rook can land on e7, now we're talking.
Yeah, and g3, he's got g4 as an idea, although it does give the f4 square, so you have to be careful, and Eric walks into a fork. It's funny, he played king h8, almost trying to avoid a fork, and just handed one over to his opponent.
Yeah, and look at how quickly Minh swung the rook to b8, wins the b7 pawn, rook a7, taking on a... Don't take on a5 yet, but he's going to take on a5, and he's just stealing all the pieces.
Yeah, and Eric's just basically probably going to resign here because he's going to have to exchange pieces, and he plays it on. But what we noticed is that when Minh is winning games, I feel like he's winning it, again, like I mentioned, with an insane time edge.
Yeah, and Minh is a monster. And as you see here, he is the highest rated IM on the site. His bullet rating record is 3357 peak. That is just absolutely absurd.
I thought they stopped counting at some point, Robert.
I definitely can't count that high. Well, Eric would like to stop the count with 10 minutes to go because he is up 5-4 right now, and he just played d5, so maybe he's still enjoying himself. He wants to win this match, obviously, but he just won a pawn.
And it just, I was going to say, take f7 and d6 was a nice tactic there. Obviously, can't complain about an extra pawn in the center of the board, but I think he had a lot better there.
Well, extra pawn no more, except extra exchange. So c2 is captured.
He's trade.
Yeah, bishop b5. He saw that very quickly. And now knight b5 at some point. This is just great technique by Eric to trade off some pieces.
And the open C file means that it's not really easy for Minh Lee to set up any sort of blockade of any sort because the C pawn is always a target on the open files.
Yes, and knight e4, a bit of a strange move because you almost trap your own rook, but rook 6 f6. Oh, He had rook takes f6 there.
There might have been some tactics there, but I think he was maybe getting concerned with his pieces all over the place there.
He also is up on time. So that's the good news for Eric. He's playing very quickly.
Mhm.
And it is a bishop rather, and one pawn for rook. So that's actually quite a deal of compensation, especially
Yes.
considering how strong the knight is on d4 right now for black.
So knight c2, there's queen e7 there. So he wasn't losing the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, h4 hanging?
Yeah, just b6, protects c5, and then what do you do now? So he takes
I
h4.
feel like this was good by Eric. Just undermine that knight. That knight, it's so strong on that square. And then rook c4, knight f3.
Yeah, h4 played. I think black still has attacking potential, but queen f3 is just perfect move. Knight e3.
Knight e3.
Oh, knight d4.
So tricky. Both sides playing well here, I feel. Queen takes f2, queen d4.
Yeah, I play h3 first. Just like throw in that h3 move, make white think.
Agree. Queen f3 as an idea here.
You have to go. He's got 7 seconds left.
Rook h5 and then take e2.
Oh, that is beautiful. And nicely done by Minh to not take the rook because he probably pre-moved queen takes h5.
Yep. He's being tricky here. I don't know about not taking the rook there, though. He might regret that.
It's mate one. Oh, he queen d7 mate. Oh my gosh, and he's not going to... Oh, he's going to win anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Minh is upset about that one. I think what he should have done was exactly what he did. Not take the rook immediately, but you have to take it eventually. Giving an extra rook is too easy to pre-move, in my opinion.
yes, and the checkmate happened, and wow, Minh was demonstrative there. He is not happy about that game because he needed it.
Yep. And we see the time is now something that we're going to have to pay attention to. And I wonder if the players are starting to feel the exact same way. As soon as you get to 7.5 minutes ticking down, you can start to do the math on how many bullet games you're going to be able to play for the rest of this match.
And they've been going back and forth in this match. I mean, look at this position. White's knights are so strong. Bishop g3, threatening a knight takes g6 or something like that, but knight h5. How perfectly timed by Eric.
Yeah, just in time. And I think, Eric's going to take that and be very happy with the resulting position.
Yes, because now it's the bishop pair for black. Seems to be a safe position. Now you can take on e5 and take twice because you win a pawn. And there may be a sacrifice in g6 you need to keep your eye on, but it doesn't seem to work just yet.
Yeah, queen g7 seems to cover everything. Bishop on d5, watching all the squares the knight on c5 might want to jump into. And if you take that, I think b2 I thought was just hanging, although rook b1 I'm seeing now.
Yeah, rook b1, nice find just to get that knight on b6. And, well, Eric trades queens and takes a pawn a4, and b2 might fall anyway, just without queens on the board.
Right.
Should be a nearly winning position right now for black.
Yeah, because you run that pawn to a2. It's supported by the bishop on d5. This looks like it should be working.
And Eric's ahead in the clock, so he's playing great bullet chess right now. And knight d4 would have...
Rook b7, rook b1.
Yeah.
That should be game over.
And Minh just resigns. 6 minutes and change remaining. Yep. So still time for Minh to mount this comeback here. But he seems to be tilted.
Yeah, just a little bit. But when it seemed like that was happening the last time, he came out with one of his best games. So he's going to need that right now. As with the time taken out, 6 minutes, 3-game lead, he's got to win this game, I feel.
And he castles queens, I think, is just smart because you don't want to face a checkmating attack. And he plays h5, trying to open up the position. I think black is very solid. The typical Minh approach, b7, right. c6, f7, e6, every single game. And right now the position is about to open up, but g7 is hanging, but so is f4. So
that's why he took this way to pin, well, quote unquote, pin the bishop to the queen there. And you mentioned the f4 pawn hanging as well. f5, and is it going to be g6?
But that f5 pawn now for white, that has an eye kept on it. And I love the move h4. And I love queen g3.
Yeah, but hang on. There's going to be rook g7, rook e7 as well.
So rook h5 coming for black, though. And then rook g5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is...
really good stuff.
Oh,
knight on e3. That's what you want. Exactly. Rook f3 and knight e3. And Eric, I think, is actually doing a great job holding this position.
Yeah, his pieces are so compact here. Everything's protecting one another. And is he going to go rook f4, knight g2? Yeah. He's turning this around. You
thought that the f pawn was falling. It might be the h pawn all of a sudden. c3. He's going to take his time. If knight g2, f5 hangs. You got to be careful.
So I don't think either side can really move here. They're both stuck.
They're both stuck, but c4, c5. This is a hilarious locked position. The king goes to c3 now.
Okay, yeah. And the h4 pawn can be captured. And then rook h7. Rook h7. Okay, try to trade rooks.
Eric's probably going to go for it with rook h7, I would guess.
He's no time, though.
That might have been the smart decision given the match situation.
Yeah, I was surprised by it, but Eric down to 9 seconds, and Minh just trying to flag him at this point because he's down a bunch of pawns.
Mm-hmm. Knight G4, huge blunder.
That's
The
huge.
rook.
And Minh,
Oh no.
you see Minh, he jumped back in his chair. Just he is not having this match right now.
Okay, and Eric's just pre-moving. B5 will happen. He's going to get that pawn to C7. He's got to stay in the dark squares. That's a really important move, being able to take that bishop there. Yes. And he should be able to get a checkmate. 1.6 seconds. The knight's going to be a bit annoying, but I think he's got it just in time.
Yeah, and
wow.
You could just tell by his body language. He's I don't know what to do. And Eric is bouncing now.
He's got the head nod. He's got the head nod. It seems to me like that was the match right there. Minh needed that win, and then he needed to start the next game ASAP. At the moment, 3.5 minutes taking down Robert shouldn't be enough. Yeah,
this is Eric Hansen's match, and because he's winning this, I think he moves on to face Andrew Tang in the quarterfinals. That will be an interesting matchup between two of the most popular streamers on Twitch. So knight b5, wow, nice tactic though by Minh.
That's man, talk about the match being over. I think Eric's probably happy the match is over when Minh's playing moves like that.
Yeah, here comes knight b6, I guess. What's going on right now? 2 extra pawns for white.
Yeah, e4, knight b6.
But Eric's doing his best to keep some aggressive possibilities for himself. The dark squares, king h7, bishop h6.
Yep, bishop h6, rook h8 ideas.
You're losing some material here.
Yeah, getting rid of that knight, but e5. Oof, that's a dagger.
White's still better because you're up 2 pawns to begin with. And so even though you drop an exchange, that king on h7 is also...
Talk about every piece on the 6th rank.
It's good that Eric doesn't really have to care about this game, because if this were a close match, this would be one of those games that just makes you so angry.
Yeah, this game is not a good representation, but it could also be said that maybe that's why the game has kind of gotten out of hand, because Eric knows that he's probably got this match secured.
Right. And there he just goes c7, pre-move c8. And Eric's just going to play it out because...
I think so. Smart, yeah.
Yeah, you were just wasting the remaining time. So after this game here, there will only be... the next game will be the last one.
Yeah, and when you're in these situations, you're not always paying attention to the clock.
Right.
So you're not always... Knight f5 is a nice, cute mate there.
Mm-hmm. And Eric not at all rattled because, well, he's got this match. And you're right. The players, they don't always look at the overall match clock, but they have a general sense. But they might... He's I'm winning. I might as well waste time. And he did just that. And now he's going to take this match at worst by a 2-game margin.
Exactly. Maybe d6 here. Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Right. Give up the pawn. You're going to lose it anyway, so you might as well cause some problems in black structure. And bishop c4 is a pin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a really annoying pin.
Yeah, they can't really do anything about that. The dark squares are also being felt as a weakness here.
Right. I think... d8 was hanging for free.
Yep. d8 was very hanging, which is why after f3, he had to move the rook. He probably noticed it, and he was like, oh, man, I guess I got to move it.
But that was a sweet tactic by Eric there with sacrificing the exchange to win the 95. Minh resigns. So, okay, there might be...
There'll be another game here, and I think this will be the last one.
Yeah, and it's important to note that if this match restarted or happened again tomorrow, this result could be flipped. Like, these players are so evenly matched for the most part in bullet chess, and you see that we mentioned earlier, Minh's highest rating was 3357, okay? And he's at 3100 right now. So in a given day, you can go up 200 points, go down 200 points. That's the nature of the beast that is bullet chess.
Yeah, and that's why the match the match right now has like a 4-game deficit, and it's not really reflective of the difference in skill. It's such a streaky format that as soon as you get on a roll, it often continues.
And look at that, Minh leads Eric 166 to 138 in all Chess.com games. So Minh actually has the better record between the two. I don't know the distinction between bullet and blitz in that record, but it shows that Minh is, as I said, every bit the equal, and maybe even just has a slight advantage in overall play.
But the only score that matters is the one between them right here today in this match, and we do see a commanding victory in the end on the scoreboard. However, it felt like it was neck and neck the entire way.
Yeah, I think Eric will find this final score to be particularly nice, And on that note, we will take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Eric Hansen, the winner of this match in the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG.
Welcome back. Robert and myself, joined by Grandmaster Eric Hansen. It's not too often that you'll get more than one chess pro on an official Chess.com broadcast. Eric, not a lot of people were expecting to see you here today. When did you find out that you were supposed to be playing chess?
I think I found out a couple hours before start time, so like 9:30 a.m. maybe.
Yeah.
Just got Danny sliding into my DMs.
Do you think that actually helped you? Because this is a pretty stressful event. You're playing all these bullet games in a row. Tilt is easy to happen to you. Do you think it actually helped that you didn't have this, bogging your mind down for the last day or so?
I think so. I think that's like in general, that's healthier in chess to not stress about these things. So I just came in without expectations. Whereas maybe if I had won a qualifier, I would have thought, hey, I'm a hot shot now. I got chances to go deep here. I was just expecting to go in to just be a last minute replacement. And if whatever happened. It was relaxed. It was probably good I didn't stream as well. That would have just added more pressure.
Yeah. It's a different experience when you're not streaming. And I think early on in this bullet match, Robert and I saw one of the games. I think you were up so much material, so much time, and you ended up barely flagging Minh. And the webcam reactions from both players, it looked like everyone was tilted. So we couldn't even tell the result. Very emotional player. Is that something you had to keep in check for the match today?
Definitely. Fortunately, I think I controlled the tilt a little bit, but I was getting flashbacks. I mean, I just you guys were commentating. I choked 4 straight qualifiers, and I was leading 2 of them by a full point, and within half point of every qualifier of a spot, at least in the knockout. So I had lost so many. It was the worst week of bullet chess I've ever had. The final qualifier, I lost 3 straight games in a row to not qualify. Any point would have qualified. So I'm glad I just didn't expect this to occur, and I was just coming in with fresh legs because I had way too much pressure on myself last week, and I really choked and deserved not to qualify as a result.
Well, you were that last second replacement here, and you did take down somebody you played many games against online, and you're actually going to play someone in the next round, Danya Naroditsky.
Yes.
Who? How many games would you guess you played against Danya?
Maybe 3,000.
And a very accurate number.
Yeah, like you seem like you might know this off the top of your head here. And well, what do you make of your chances against him in this quarterfinal matchup? Obviously, Danya is an absolute beast.
Yeah,
but you've just proved yourself against Minh, who is also a monster.
I think if I play like the type of chess I played today, that was pretty good, but my speed is not okay. So I'm gonna have to play a little faster tomorrow, like to even be competitive. Danya is a machine, like hyper bullet. You have to bring your like best game, and there were shaky games in this match, tons of shaky games from both Minh and myself, and I don't think there would be that margin of error allowed against a guy like Danya.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we expect when you're going up against someone like Danya Naroditsky. But we have a lot to look forward to. And now, Eric, you actually know you're going to be playing the next match. So we'll see if that affects
I'm not prepared.
the mentality.
No, I don't want to think about it. I'm just
exactly.
I'll just show up here and business as usual, and just that's the way she goes.
Well, you can have a nice celebration stream on the Chess Broad channel. I'm sure everyone will be happy to see that. And hey, you didn't expect to be here, but now that you were here, you won a very good match, and you get to move on. So there's you're playing with house money.
That's true. I agree. This is a free roll, so I'm just gonna have fun.
All right, Eric. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, and congrats again, man.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
That is Chess Bra Eric Hansen with the victory over Minh. And well, that was just the third match of the day. We have one more. Nihal Sarin takes on Olexandr Bortnyk. The origin of Bortnyk Strong was the previous Bullet Chess Championship. So we'll see if last time's finalists can take down the just prodigy from India. Nihal Sarin is one of the world's best players, especially in these online formats. So Aman, you know the deal. It's the last match of the day. Who you got?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the last match of the day without one more of these. Bortnyk, first of all, incredible bullet player. One thing about Nihal, and I feel like it's almost the same with most of the Indian players, so strong, but easy to underestimate. And we've seen in the qualifiers, there's a reason that so many Indian players qualified amongst everyone. They have nerves of steel, very young, very quick, and obviously tremendous chess players. So I feel like everything I just described is Nihal Sarin. He has this weird bullet style. I actually remember Eric played a match against Nihal just a couple days ago or something on stream, and neck and neck match. So my goodness, he can compete with the top players. I think Bortnyk is a little bit more prone to tilt and riskier moves and maybe blunders here and there. Nihal just seems like that consistent machine the whole way, and in a short time control like this, I think that might give him the slight edge.
Yeah, Nihal has been atop the leaderboard at various points on Chess.com, the #1 rated player in different time controls. So he is maybe not #1, but close up there. Maybe he was #1 in bullet. I'm not exactly positive. We'll check on that. But either way, he has been one of the top contenders in these time controls. And against Olexandr Bortnyk is a beast. And well, we have the game underway.
Yeah, didn't realize we were starting that quick, but the games are off here, and we're joining just in time to catch a familiar opening, wouldn't you say, Robert, from the matches today?
Oh, yes. And it's a closed position because not a single piece has been traded, and it's move 18. And you don't see that every day. And yet this structure, when is a player going to take on D4? What's the deal here?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, H6 probably being considered, and then the knight comes back. Maybe the bishop goes back to E4, and black snuck in that H pawn there. But I think he's got different intentions. He's saying that knight on G5 might even be trapped soon.
Yeah, that knight can't go anywhere. So H6 right now, that's played, and Bishop d6. So he's going to get the rook for a couple pieces, and he'll maybe get a pawn in addition to that rook, but this should be good for Bortnyk.
Yeah, this should be fantastic. The knight on b3 has nowhere to go, sort of in part due to his own a pawn on a5, and the space for Bortnyk is overwhelming. So that's why f3 had to be played.
And that gives white some chances to go after the black king, right? It's not like the king is that safe, especially with the queen and the rook lined up, and a6 falling. That's an outside pass pawn.
Yeah, and I don't know what the eval is according to the engine here, but I'm very scared if I'm Bortnyk that I gave up that a pawn, and all of a sudden this position's opening up.
Although, where's this rook going? Because you don't want to drop the e3 pawn, and bishop f6 played very quickly. You can't go bishop h4 because queen g6 is hanging. So I think that might have been a mistake.
Yeah, definitely a mistake here, and there's no way this position is salvageable. Just queen b7, game over.
Queen b7 played. You don't even ask Nihal Sarin twice. He finds it, trading queens. The a pawn can't be stopped, and after knight takes c4, this rook takes g5.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So there you go. We're getting started with a game that I'm sure Bortnyk is going to want back, because we saw the position earlier. He had the two pieces for the rook and a better position, but Nihal just said, look, I might not have the best position, but even you can always find the best moves even in a tough position.
Yeah, and Bortnyk actually has the overall lead in their head-to-head matches. I didn't expect that, but not too many games. It's funny, right. 50 games, not too many, but that's we just heard Eric talk about 3,000 games against Danya. And
so I think you're qualified to say that.
Yeah, feels about right. And look at this move c5, just trying to keep the extra pawn for black and not allow the queen to go to d4. But now that you take on passant, there's a d6 pawn problem. Queen can still go to d4 at some point. So I like white's initiative, and why not? It's even material.
Well, you've got reason to, Robert, as the initiative is not the only thing he has. He's even at material, and queen g5 has, the threat of knight h3. I wonder if it's going to be enough, though.
Yeah, some kind of rookie one would be nice, but you can't get there with the bishop on b4, and black's back rank is also a bit of an issue here.
Yeah, maybe you can even throw in a bishop c3 in a position like this, because f6 and rook takes f6 is there.
Wow, bishop d2, bishop f1, your queen takes f4, I guess, and try to go into this opposite colored bishop rook ending.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a way to avoid it, but yeah, I don't think there is, which is great news for Bortnyk here. Even though it's opposite colored bishops, you're up on time, and you might just be winning anyways. Oh. And that's a slip.
Yeah, there's one of those moments where your pawn goes b3, and you pre-move king g8, and now you lose a piece.
Yeah, I felt like he didn't finish letting go of the king from the previous move. So he played king f8 and almost just still had his hand on the king there and dropped it back on g8 by accident.
And games like that where even though you still have 18 seconds left, you know that you're in trouble when your opponent has 10 seconds more than you do. So you're just trying to pre-move as much as possible to narrow that time gap. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And now we see next game tied 1-1. This is a queenless position where honestly, I like black's chances in this one because there's no weaknesses.
Yeah, knight into d4. And I mean, if you take everything there might even just be a knight h5 at the end. That dark square bishop for white in this position is sometimes worth a rook.
Yes, that's very true. And well, this control the d file is very nice for Nihal right now. So what's black's plan going to be? Is it to move the rook f8 to somewhere and then bring the king over and try to go rook d8? I don't think you can allow this pressure to exist for so long.
I'm waiting for e6. After the move a6, it's a lot worse because then the d6 square is weak. But e6 to prevent this exact move right here is what I was interested in, because trading all these pieces, now white says, look, I'm controlling the only open file in the position, rook d7, rook d6, and suddenly I feel like Nihal Sarin has all the advantages.
And there's like a bishop a7 move possible at some point to cut the rook off from the a6 pawn. So he's just trades. Oh, and bishop d4, bishop b6. You do not want to take
b6.
that.
And I'm wondering here, do you just go maybe king b2? Yeah, and rook a7. That's what I was thinking. Rook c6, rook a8, leading to mate.
I feel like I would have wanted to give up my c3 pawn, not my a5 pawn, because when you take a6, you would have had oh, okay, this is just winning now, pin piece. Yeah. Bishop b6.
That's a good try, but unfortunately it could be taken. And just don't play bishop e5. Nihal's too good to blunder that.
Yeah, it was funny. Bishop e5 or bishop b6 there would have fallen victim to the same thing. Bishop e5 check, and white would have lost the material instead of black. But this is just now easy conversion, plenty of time for Nihal.
And the bishop can sneak its way from c5 to b4, although I don't think he's concerned here.
No. Rook d7, or king b5. Okay, it doesn't go that way. Instead, he just gets the queen in plenty of time. Just no stalemates.
Yeah, just take your time with those moves, and now you can start to get the pre-moves in because you know exactly where that king is going.
And that's mate by force, so he wins. 24 minutes remaining. 2 games to 1, 3 games in. And now going with these like modern setups that for Nihal. So I wonder what his mindset is going into the match, because Artemiev said a similar thing.
Yeah, that the the plus 1 second and the G6 systems. Maybe there's similar opinions there.
Well, we know the G6 systems, that much is similar at least. And I play these positions many times online where black tries to just go over there on the queen side and start attacking the white king. But it's actually hard to get that going because you push b4, then your other pawns can't exactly help out.
Right, and in a position like this, if you have to play b3 and that gets taken, this looks terrible already. I never understand how you're supposed to play this position with white, because the pawn back on f3, it's like the only idea to attack is play f4, but you do that and look what happens. That bishop on g7 is a monster this game.
Yeah, it could not afford to allow that knight to get trapped like it did, to have to go to the a4 square. You would need it to retreat, but Nihal, perfect timing, perfect execution. That bishop on g7, speaking of execution, I think that king on b1 is about to feel its wrath.
Mm-hmm. Bishop takes g4 here, and I was going to say maybe we're just going to see, just h5, take all my pawns, try to open something up. Now Nihal says, wait, let's trade those queens. Hang on. You're doing the attacking now.
Right. And so kicking that queen back, a5, a4, b3, things like that.
Oh. That's just a move you have to wince at.
Oh, no! Oh, my gosh! Oh, look at him. He just grabs his head, Nihal. The knight on b3 was covering the square. Oh my gosh.
I'm done jinxing.
Well, also, doesn't it look like Bortnyk suspended in air? Like he's about to do the Superman? Like this angle makes it seem like, he's dangling in midair.
With knight d4, that's a piece dangling in midair right in the center of the board, and he's able to take that with 0 gravity.
Yeah, well, he is ready for liftoff here, but unfortunately for him, and fortunately for him rather, and not fortunately for Nihal, it seems like Bortnyk is flying away with this one.
It really looks like the blood is rushing to his head, and he's got some friends holding him upside down. He's looking down at the screen.
Yeah. Oh, knight d2. Wait, but he hung f7 with check, and king f8 you can take on e8.
Rook takes e3.
Wait.
Wasn't there what?
Oh, that's the threat. Yeah, no, sorry, but the king was in check before, so
yeah, so it's just catching up here.
We're so focused on how he's flying over there that the pieces are also flying. So right now, what's happening here? White has a rook and 1 pawn for 2 minor pieces, so seems okay for white.
Definitely does. Rook d6 and then knight e4, rook d7. Keep the rook active in there. And that bishop on a4 is a little concerning.
And that's why it brings it back in the game. It defends the knight on f7, also covers d5. You can play it on c4. And maybe black will play a5, a4 at some point to...
Knight f5, king f8.
Oh, king f8, okay. And now bishop c4 is b3. Bishop a2. And at b3, there's knight takes c3.
Yeah, and b4.
But knight e2. And if you take knight e2, you take with check and the bishop is lost.
Oh my goodness. What a move, knight e2. He missed it. That was a key moment there. And now we'll see Bortnyk. He's lower on time, but he's got everything defended.
Yes. But look at this knight a6 move. I think Neil's just going to move around, bring his king to g3 to h4. Watch out for knight forks, though. I play knight f6. Yep. Oh, okay. He covered the e4 square. Very important. I would not have taken that bishop.
Oh, but hang on. He was winning that pawn by force. That's impressive.
But it makes black's life easier in terms of the moves that can be played.
Yeah.
And you can't lose. If you take the pawn, you can't lose.
There you go. And those are some hanging knights there.
Oh,
don't make a move.
It's a draw.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, and Bortnyk. All right, now we can tell he's seated. He just grabbed his head like, whew.
Yeah, and he that was the look of like, I guess that's just the kind of match we're gonna have. Let's go.
This is a fun one indeed. Even score, feels about right. And let's see what's going on here. It's a potential attack for white. The queen came out, mate. Is there going to be some...
Queen h3? Queen g3.
Oh, watch out for knight g6 or knight takes c6. So you take on e5, and then knight c5. Okay. All this is making sense.
The knight on c7 is a bit of a strange piece, though. It doesn't have anywhere useful to go. And if knight b5, you almost just go knight e2. Just say, look, your knight on c7 or b5 or e8, it's going nowhere the rest of the game.
Yeah, so he puts on e8. Maybe he'll go f6 or f5 and try to get the knight out via f6.
Okay, and we see this is what castling looks like in 2021. King F1, King G1, Rook H4, Rook G4.
Yeah, a very normal state of affairs. And now I think F5 is needed. You need space for you can't leave yourself just strangled. And there he goes, knight takes F6. We see some trades. You can take with the
pawn
queen.
takes. Well, isn't there bishop E? Oh,
No,
bishop E5, rook G4.
Oh my gosh, same blunder.
Yep.
And Bortnyk, his eyes got so wide there. Just rook F7. And you're up a piece.
Yeah, and it's sometimes when things just are not going your way, you give that shrug like, I mean, what am I supposed to do? The world's against me here. I'm blundering everything.
Yeah, and he resigns. And still 18 minutes. I feel like we're near the end of this match because so much has already happened.
Yeah.
And yet we're just really getting started.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. It's the last match of the day for us here. We've seen this opening before, and I thought that it could have worked out better for Bortnyk than it did in the game. Are we going to see the same position? No, he takes the bishop this time instead of the knight.
And then he puts his bishop on E6, covering the D5 square, and he plays B5. You take bishop C4. What?
I think he was thinking rook B8 after knight takes B5. He's like, oh, I have it covered by the bishop on F4. Didn't realize bishop C4 was the sneaky intention.
Yeah, and he gets away with it. And so Nihal now down in exchange. He definitely has some life left in this position because of Black's bad pawns on the queen side. Like if you can trade off some minor pieces, leave yourself with that bishop on E3, you have some chances. But I like the way Bortnyk's playing this. There's rook to B7. Oh.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's
Greedy
E5
guy.
coming.
Yeah, greedy guy there. Okay, stopping E5. Now,
Yeah.
all right, is that knight trapped in C6?
Yeah, I was going to say, knight D4, it can be taken.
Wow.
Nice move, rook D6.
And rook C8. And say bye to the knight.
Yep. I don't see any way to save it here. What a game. That was a good game from Bortnyk there. And I think he's even this match once again, Robert.
Yeah, and Nihal's missing certain tactics. Well, both players are, right? In the previous game, it seemed that Bortnyk blundered a piece, and then in other games, Nihal blundered a piece. So both sides have seen a bit shaky thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, knight D4 this is a typical French play against that bishop on B7. It's locked behind his pawn on D5. And now...
I was going to say, I wonder if, even just like F5 or something was playable here. Taking that pawn on B4 results in knight D3 check, winning the rook.
So bishop B5, look at this. I was talking about that bad French bishop. Now the bishop is being traded off. There's B3 ideas for Black. There it is. I think that Black is just crushing right now.
Yeah, you almost got to go king B1, king A1 or something. Whoa.
Okay, king's out on E3, so F6 makes perfect sense. Let's blast that king open.
And this might be the quickest, promotion that you've ever seen. Rook F4.
Oh, queen G5 check, rook F8 mate coming your way. Queen G5 now. Queen takes C8 check, rook F8 check, interpose with check.
And if queen takes E6, rook F7.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to go into those complications. There's got to be rook takes
Yeah,
F3.
rook F3.
It has to be.
Rook F3, rook F2, queen G5, queen. Okay, it's still mate.
Fancy.
Queen F3 and G5. Mate with a pawn.
Oh, my goodness. What a game.
Yeah. In chess bingo, that would have been a nice one there. Checkmate with a pawn. Down 2 rooks.
Yeah, that was a clean finish. And it was right off the back of a tremendous game by Bortnyk. So that's exactly the momentum that you need to combat that.
And this will be the final game before the break, and I wonder who's happier about that. Nihal, seizing the momentum with that win, but every time Nihal wins, it feels like Bortnyk wins the next one.
Yeah. Talk about a close match. This is truly players trading wins back and forth.
And here we see pawn up to A5, trying to chisel at Black's queenside pawn structure. Knight comes to C5. I would play for knight C4 in the very near future.
Yeah, knight C4 now. A bishop A6, of course. Take that pawn. Makes sense.
I've sort of named that in my head as the Roberto Molina because in the I Am Not GM Speedsters Championship, he took that pawn several times. Yeah. So in my head, that's the Roberto.
Knight D4. There you go. Talk about a solid square. There's C takes D4, and that bishop on H2 is actually going to be well placed here.
And Black needs to try for some kind of F4, I guess, because you're just going to be ground down. And Bortnyk is ranked number 9 on the bullet leaderboard. So he's clearly a bullet beast, and all players have talked about him before. So he's just really, really strong. With the finalist in the previous edition, but right now he is all he can handle in Nihal Sarin.
And if Bortnyk is ranked number 9, I think we know who number 8 is. He might be playing him right now.
Yeah, Nihal, a little bit higher rated, but this could, but in the match could swap. So h5, is he trying to push his pawns to get g4 at some point?
Yeah, queen d3. I don't think you want to trade queens as white, but he's really tempting you with queen d3.
Yeah, so he just goes away. Queen a7 check. Where's that king?
Look how exposed the king is.
Rook c6.
Yep. King on h2 is nice and safe, and
D6.
d5, d6. Powerful.
Yeah. And rook e6. I don't see the win just yet, but it's looking really good. Oh my gosh.
Look at these moves. Queen c4 and queen a7. Both sides are playing fantastic right now.
I love
Nihal's
that.
A bit ahead.
I love that rook e7, but look at the clock.
Yep.
White's a little bit ahead. 4 seconds for black.
Bortnyk needs a move. He just
it's
needs
hard to play a
play.
move. You're getting checkmated, it looks like. Queen e5's mate. So he stops it.
Nothing
G5.
to do about it.
Wow.
And I mean, Bortnyk is given that side like he's not playing badly. He's just got his hands full with Nihal Sarin, who is a calculating machine, Robert.
Well, in some ways, that's, I think, makes you feel worse, because if you're not playing badly and you're still losing, you don't have that mental note of, oh, I can just correct this. If you're blundering pieces left and right, like, let's just not blunder. Here it's like, I'm playing well and Nihal's up 4 seconds and he checkmated me in the final game. So what do you think Bortnyk has to do to right the ship here?
Well, I sort of hinted at it before the match that Nihal is going to deliver that more solid, consistent performance throughout. And I think that Bortnyk can play at a higher level when he's really feeling the tactics, when things are flowing. But he's also capable of those blunders, a little bit more of a loose player, which is kind of part of his style as well. So honestly, I think you stay to your style here. You don't change things up, especially in the middle of a 15 more minutes of bullet chess. I think you just stick to what you're good at. And we know that, he can win this match playing in his style.
Well, we're going to be locked in, but for now, we're going to take a quick breather. When we return, we will have the second half of the final match of the wildcard day here at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG. And as you see here, Olexandr Bortnyk is not flying, but one of his cameras is. He has the fair play cam above his head, so you know exactly what he's doing on his computer. He is just focused in on the chess. He's got the hydration station right there. Aman, pretty cool that he has the setup.
Yeah, he's got an awesome setup. I mean, I wish he would stream some more for everyone out there, because he's got a sweet looking setup there. He's got all the apparel, all the equipment that he needs, and he's confirming to everyone who had that question on their minds, Robert, yes, indeed, he is feet on the ground and he is not flying anywhere.
And he is just locked into the chess, getting ready for the next game. And this is the final match of the day between Nihal, Sarin, and Olexandr Bortnyk. Both these superstars are trying to make their way to the quarterfinal. Only one can get through. The winner will face Andrew Tang in the quarterfinals. So both players trying their best here. It's very late for Nihal. I was just thinking about that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what time it is for him,
right,
but it's real late.
Yeah, and I always have that question of myself, as we see the games getting underway here. Does that help or hurt the performance? Because speaking for myself, Robert, I think it honestly helped me. I'm a nocturnal guy, and I like playing, speedy, dirty flag and bullet chess at night.
We all can't be nocturnal animals, but when we are, we often have good results. So right here, we see a very locked up position, closed, no pawn tension whatsoever. I think that Black shouldn't be unhappy with the position out of the gates here, but maybe bishop takes h6. I wouldn't count that out. You have to watch out for that.
I know sometimes a move like that, you can just, well, now I would really consider it, although knight g4 is on the cards.
Yeah, so it was prevented tactically, but he left it there. And if he left it there a moment longer, maybe it would have been captured.
Right. And this knight on g3, I'm not so sure that it's where it wants to be. Like, I feel like we need a rerouting for that knight.
Yeah, and when he goes b4, does Nihal Sarin just trying to open up the queen side, and he's first. The king side seems he's dropped his queen, but he was attacking White's queen in the process. But way to get me speechless there, Nihal.
Yeah, and rook e3, just that move, throwing it in there. Well, we're going to see h5. Here we are. h4 is a big threat here.
And if White plays h4, there's queen f4 for Black. That would have won the h4 pawn directly.
Look at that. That's a brave move. Rook to e5. I can't believe it.
Because you can't play knight takes d7, unfortunately, for Black to pin that rook. So I guess
knight g4 and f6. Is that too much, Robert?
That looks like too much. I like the intention, though. Looks pretty cool, but I think it's too much. And now just rook back and rook e3, trade queens. Black is better in the ensuing ending, but look at the clock. About even.
I think he was really considering queen takes h4 there, which is why it took so much time. But now that he's ended up trading, that time lost is very valuable for this time scramble now.
Yeah, he does win a pawn. Okay, he saves the piece. I thought he was going to lose the piece. Black can make a draw with like rook a2, rook d2, and things like that, but Nihal's trying to win it.
Yeah, no, Nihal's down a pawn here, but it's just the coordination. Look how easy it is for Black to move pieces. Bishop on d3, knight g2, they're not that easy to coordinate.
And look at the time situation. 8 seconds for White, 9 seconds for Black, and now there's... Oh, look at that move thrown in because the bishop's hanging on e2.
Wow. That's not only a good bullet move, it's just a damn good move, period.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And now that pawn's promoting f2. You can't even play rook d1 because the bishop covers, and now queen f5.
Wow.
Queen f5 is leading to mate.
I mean, he's going to throw that move in, but it's not going to be enough. Queen g5, and there is going to be mate coming up here as Nihal Sarin just so calculated. It feels like he has everything under control, even though it's a time scramble with seconds and pieces flying everywhere.
This is weird to say, but I think he might be underrated at nearly 3,200.
Yeah. When Nihal gets his style of game, he seems like he's worth so much more than the rating he has. Like, he's so calculated, so controlled, and you can just see from the webcam there, ultra focused at all times.
And he's winning now because the threat was not just knight takes pawn on e7. It was knight e7 check to take the bishop to remove the defender of the knight. And now the knight's hanging. c5 will be hanging when the knight moves. The rook's trapped actually after bishop takes c5.
Right.
Just rook d1 back. Look at this. You take on f8. You're up in exchange, and wow, this is one-sided. Yeah,
this is. Even f4 if knight to e5 there, or f4 anyways in the position. Looks like b3, c4, king up. Great position.
f5 followed by rook g4 maybe. Here it comes.
Yeah, rook g4.
Oh, the bishop was trapped.
The rook c8 trapped the bishop. We didn't even notice.
I was looking to trap the knight. I think we both were. And the bishop got trapped.
Now, I know this is over, but okay, bishop b7 might make it more apparent. But I was just going to say, 4 pass pawns in bullet, they can be trickier than you think.
Oh, for sure. g5, g4 coming your way. This still gives Black a chance here. Those pawns are more advanced. And a pawn can't go that quickly.
Yeah, it's maybe rook c3 and then f4. It's like, wait a minute, what's
Yeah.
going on?
I like that move, the bishop. If f4, maybe rook takes. I don't
Rook
really
e6
want-
and then take h3, but a6 falls.
Then just bishop g2 and cover all
Yeah.
the pawns.
Yeah, it has to be.
Okay, that was a good move though. Rook e4 was really, really good.
But e5,
oh, and f3. You could have played f3
Yeah.
there.
f3, there was rook g5 check.
But there's
and
rook g6. Yeah. Wow.
It's tough because sometimes you think of rook g6 and you're like, oh, piece trade, I can do that. Not in this case.
Right. And well, this looks like still a game because of the time situation. Only 8.6 seconds.
No,
and he dropped the bishop.
He just messed that up totally.
And the rook g3. Look at that rook. The rook could have blocked in the first rank or on the g file. And now Bortnyk, he gets his queen and he's up on time and he's about to deliver a checkmate.
Yeah, and some real signs of emotion there from Nihal. Is probably going to see queen b6, take the rook, and that's the simplest way to win.
Right. Now you can pre-move the pawn promotion.
King
And he's
over
going for
and force mates. And that is some real emotion, as I said, shown by Nihal Sarin. It's that's a big, big mistake. He dropped the bishop. He lost that game where he was up a rook. And what was I saying, Robert? How tricky are those pawns in bullet? Well, tricky enough to win a game down a rook.
And 2 seconds can make all the difference. You may think, it's not a big deal. You have a piece. It's 12 seconds to 10 seconds. Who cares? Well, it matters because you start pre-moving earlier when you have less time, and then you drop pieces like that. So right now, Bortnyk with the white piece, he's going full on for the attack here. Unfortunately, I don't think his attack is quick enough, and Black's position looks quite stable.
It does. I'm waiting for the move knight g3. It goes knight c1. I'm assuming I was missing something because knight g3, I thought that's where the knight usually goes. Bishop covers the c4 square. And look at that, king f2. I mentioned it earlier, Robert. People aren't really castling in 2021.
No, castling's overrated. Look at this. Well, actually, if you are a learning chess, no, casting is important. Please castle. But if you're playing bullet chess, you can get away with things like this because look at the castled king. You've castled into a potential attack, and that is why Bortnyk is perfectly fine with his king sitting where it is.
Right, and h6 is going to be g6, which is really, really nice. Solid structure, king h8 to get out of the way. And look, all of a sudden Bortnyk is like, hey, remember that queen trade? Let's do that thing.
Yeah, but if you're trading queens, then that pawn h6 probably went too far. It'll likely be scooped up in these ensuing endgames. And knight takes a3 is possible here. The knight c3
yeah,
is
or
hanging.
knight d2. There's just like pawns waiting to be taken at all times here. And I feel like that's a big miss for Nihal not to have gone for those tactics.
And look at Bortnyk stealing this pawn. Is rook a8, there's knight c6, rook a7, there's b4 hangs the c3 knight.
b4 hangs the knight.
Yep. So
He's playing h7 here because he's trying to think of what move to play to save his knight. So he's like, all right, check. How do I save my knight?
no, you can't. And also, look how much time.
King
Nihal
f4.
has.
I like this. Activate the king. It's
Rook,
really
h7, rook
tricky.
h7. Just take on h7, go king f6.
I'm a fan of that. Big fan of that.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, there's no way. I think White's king is going to say rook b6. Try to
Yeah,
mate that
in
king.
this position, you want to cover the d6 square so the king doesn't get in. So actually, rook b6, as Robert said, it's a really good idea.
Knight h5 check and take the rook in f3. But too much time for Black.
I respect the attempt, though. I
too.
really do. He's playing so well. It's just not enough.
Yeah. And
That was-
Nihal's just going to flag him. That's
Yeah.
all his focus is.
Such a well-played game by Nihal Sarin and a really good attempt from Bortnyk. He was down so much time, dead loss on the board. I thought he gave a really good showing, but that's just Nihal for you. So solid. Doesn't give you anything.
He's starting to flex, and there's 5 minutes, 45 seconds remaining in this match, which gives time for the 3 games that Bortnyk needs, but he needs to win all the games. And he keeps going back to this opening, has not been working out for him.
No, I think Nihal's displayed every time that they've played it that the control of the D file, even though he has a worse structure, is worth it in bullet.
And bishop b5 played c4, bishop e8. Oof, your pieces are all dropping back. But Black's pawn structure is better because White is double
E4 is
pawns.
a threat.
That's true. And
Might
rook
play like
e8.
h4.
How do you get out of this for Black? I'm trying to come up with
E5.
any idea. b3, yeah, just
Oh,
chip the
he's just
bishop
going to
right
go back to e8.
Yeah, now the other rook's coming to d8. Oh gosh, you can't move.
He can't move.
Just
D4,
pawn takes. Just pawn takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you ever leave the last rank, those rook f8 and bishop h6 ideas. Just
He's just taking everything that's being put in front of him right now. It's just a dinner setting.
so I do think this is the best that Bortnyk could get. So
Right.
I mean, good for him to get here, but now knight d7.
Time's even.
Yeah, this is
This should be over here. Bishop d6.
bishop h6, bishop d6.
You had to play king g7 there, and Bortnyk just sort of overlooked that, and now take on c4.
Oh, wait. Oh, and he resigned when he could have won the piece.
Oh my God. I've never seen that before.
Oh man, he thought he was gonna take the rook, and he saw the bishop move, and he was already clicking resign, but he would have won the bishop.
Okay, so first of all, the pawn to c5 was expected by Bortnyk, so that's why he went rook b4. He thought white was pushing the pawn. Instead, he played rook b4 and hung the bishop, and then bishop c5. Neither player knew what was going on, and meanwhile in this game, it's practically over as, oh my goodness, it's over.
What is happening here?
What? b6?
This is some kind of theoretical. I think the theory says it should be some kind of repetition, and I don't think king e2 is the right move.
Oh my God.
But for a bullet game, it's really smart to do this because now you're up 30 seconds. So unless Nihal mates him in the next bunch of moves, he's going to win on time.
Well, black just took a long time. Look at 50 seconds for Bortnyk. Make a quick move. F3, sure.
Yeah, just go.
Flag him, knight e2.
Yeah, no, this is looking good for white.
I can't believe, like, Bortnyk has to be so tilted, resigning a position where he might even be the favorite to win.
It's just painful. And here, well, speaking of favorite to win, it looks like Bortnyk's up a rook. He's getting away with it.
Yeah, g4 is going to happen.
Although that eval bar is swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
So.
My goodness.
I think
D5
now it's increasingly clear that white is just cruising.
Yeah, cruise control. Sarin is down everything. And all of a sudden, at the end of the day, he's up a rook and a piece.
Yeah, I think he can manage this. Rook d1, rook d2, knight c3, knight g3, same idea, e4.
F5. hang on. The thing is, he's up on time. Way too much for this to matter. But I think the match is looking pretty secure here.
Yeah, there's 2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining, and it's about to be a 3-point lead.
That is the moment of the match. King f4. That is the moment of the match, Robert. If you go back to that rook c4 moment, give that game to Bortnyk, this whole thing flips around. Yeah,
actually, this would be a 1-point match instead of 3.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, he was losing that game, and I'm pretty positive that mouse slipped on that move. But a shame to resign after your opponent's mouse. That's how good the mouse slip was. Wow, g5. Speaking of good, this attack looks good.
Wow, he's in full send mode. I don't blame him.
But it's also working for Bortnyk. Like maybe he should have gone full send mode earlier.
Yeah, if this is the type of stuff that he's slated to get, then I agree with you.
And just take on g7. You're up a pawn and up 15 seconds on the clock.
That's a tricky move, though. Knight b6.
Okay, so he doesn't take on h4, and he's going to rook g8 next. No, this looks...
I can't believe that white didn't play knight takes d7.
Yeah, me too.
Loosen up the defense there.
And now queen h4 is just next after queen takes e3, so now you just take the queen, and yeah, this is a one-sided game.
Ooh, and queen c5, just the icing on top there.
Just perfect play there by Bortnyk.
Yeah, it really was.
And so he's up a queen for 2 minor pieces, but look at these pawns going. The knight is useless. This promote, and it's smart of Nihal not to resign.
Yeah, as I often mention, the players never are looking at the clock during the game, exactly. So he's just, he knows he may as well play this on. It looks like there will be one more game, but not a game to change the standings, Robert.
No, it's a 2-point match right now. That's the spread. And unfortunately for Bortnyk, he really wishes he could take that resignation back.
Yep. Because it literally is the difference at the moment.
And well, he's showing his skill down the stretch here. And if he wins this game, I think they'll be even on rating. So if Bortnyk can take this final game, he will say, hey, I'm his equal, but I did lose this match.
Absolutely. Queen g4 looks like he's trying to set up some knight f, knight h5 ideas with a bishop on e5. So strong, covering everything.
Yeah, great move, queen g5, by the way. Just offering the queen trade, knowing that Bortnyk is going to try to win the game. So he avoids the queen trade. And, well, I think that black is definitely fending off this attack.
Yeah, and honestly, Bortnyk probably wants to go for a win, but the other mindset is that he might know the match is over and it draws okay. But it looks like he's still fighting.
He went h4. He said, we could trade the queens in a different manner here. Queen takes f4, g3, rook e1, things of that nature. And can he get this pawn on d4? That's the big question.
Right. I'm a little concerned for that knight on f5 getting trapped, like g6 next.
Yeah, now you should be concerned. So
There
bishop
it
takes,
is.
knight e7. He gave himself that
Maybe
square.
bishop a5 and d3 and rook e8.
I guess. Doesn't make sense. A bishop a5 is knight takes c6.
Aha. Important. Yeah, it's a super important move.
I feel like you should get something for getting the knight to the other side. Doesn't happen all the time. Knight b6. Knight b6 third, knight d7 check. This also
Yeah, that would be a family fork.
All right. Oh, that's bad. King e7 was just winning material there.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing a time scramble. And Bortnyk ahead in the clock. So he's looking good to win this game. Better pawn structure, more time, and now extra pawn.
Yeah, and we'll see the rook go to b5.
Yeah, I would throw in some checks. I like what he's doing.
Nice.
Oh, we could take in g5 a check, but probably doesn't matter. Rook e6, rook e5. Oh, okay.
I like that though. Rook e3, rook h3, and even king f3 here.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Yeah, that's enough to flag. That's actually a really good flagging technique.
Exceptional. And we see, Nihal slightly higher rated than Bortnyk, but that was the last game. So Bortnyk wins 3 in a row to close out the match. And unfortunately for him, Nihal was too strong in the middle of this match. Aman, that was a really exciting affair. It sort of lost some of his luster when Nihal started gaining the lead. And then I think Bortnyk didn't feel like he was in it, even though he clearly still was.
Yeah, he looked a little deflated. And it was just that huge moment, which we're obviously going to see what Nihal's thoughts on that are in the interview. But that moment to me was the whole match, because Bortnyk, as you see from the final result, clearly capable of coming back, equalizing, hanging with Nihal toe-to-toe the entire match. But it's just that single point difference. He just didn't have enough time to make the comeback, because the lead that Nihal had from the beginning of this match, and especially in the middle portion, it opened up to 2-3 games, and that was just too much.
Certainly was the case, and we will take a short break. When we return, we will bring Nihal on for an interview. You will definitely want to hear his thoughts as he makes his way to the quarterfinals of this Bullet Chess Championship presented by SIG.
we are back, Robert and myself, joined by the winner of the match that we were just entertained by, Nihal Sarin. Nihal, I go over to you for the first question that I have on my mind, which is, did you know at some point that the match clock had expired and that you were a point ahead going in? Because going towards the end of that match, it seemed like Bortnyk was getting wins and wins and wins and making a comeback.
Yes, I was very happy in the last match that I watched. So,
Yeah. So you were keeping an eye on the match clock the entire time?
no, I did not really keep an eye on that. I was just trying to play as good as possible and not look at the clock.
Focus on the chess. That's the way to do it. I think Robert and I were all focused on probably the moment of the match, which was when you played Bishop C5. Probably you'll explain to us, was that a mouse slip and then your opponent resigned? That was the craziest thing we've seen.
Yeah, obviously it was a mouse slip. I wanted to take the rook, but I slipped on the worst square possible, but he resigned.
And speaking of time, Nihal, it's pretty late by you. It's past midnight, right? So do you like playing at the later hours, or does it bother you at all to be playing so late in the evening?
I generally like playing in the later hours because I think internet is generally better, and also there are not many disturbances, like not many noises and stuff. I am comfortable staying up late also. So
That's that makes a lot of sense. It might be a young player thing, Robert, because we actually saw earlier in the match, Nihal, I don't know if you watched the earlier matches, as we saw Arjun also qualify against Aronian. He's also staying up a bit late, and just wondering if you were up watching some of the matches. Nice to see another Indian player qualify through.
yes, I saw all the matches. I didn't see much of Minh versus Eric, but other matches I saw.
Well, speaking of other matches, you are having another match tomorrow. You will be playing against Andrew Tang. How many times do you think you've played against Andrew online?
I have played him quite a few times. Not much on this site, but I have played him quite a few times, and it will be a very tough match for sure.
So how are you feeling about tomorrow's matchup then?
I'll just try to play a bit better than today.
That seems
just
like
a bit better than how I finished today, at least.
Good idea. If you're constantly playing better than the last time you played, then I think that's a good recipe for improvement. Nihal, obviously, we extend our congratulations to you. You are moving on, playing Andrew Tang. We look forward to watching more of your games in the Bullet Chess Championship. But for now, we'll let you go. I know it is late over there, but thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts, and congrats again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nihal. And as you see here, Nihal Sarin moves on to the quarterfinals. He takes on Andrew Tang in the bottom right-hand side of the bracket. The final 8 are in place. We will have Hikaru Nakamura, the top seed, the reigning champion, taking on Arjun Erigiasi, who defeated Levon Ronin, so he'll try to take his second Super Grandmaster down in a row. You have Alireza Firouzja taking on Vlad Artemiev. Now that is a heavyweight matchup of two superstars in classical chess, blitz chess, bullet chess, rapid chess, whatever kind of chess you name. Those are two players who will always have a shot at the title. Daniel Naroditsky takes on Eric Hansen. That's sort of the streamer battle, if you will. Two very, very popular content creators and streamers. Aman, I'm not going to put you on the spot this time because, well, it's Eric Hansen playing. You don't need much more to say about that. And then Nihal Sarin takes on Andrew Tang. Andrew, of course, known for his bullet prowess. The guy has been lights out for years, been blindfold, 15-second chess. But Nihal, he's young. He's ready for that action, and he just said, I want to play better tomorrow. Clearly, he's hungry to improve his game.
Yeah, I think Nihal is someone that people can easily underestimate in this event. I think he's super, super strong and has a really good style for bullet chess, which is, maybe less rewarding, less flashy. He's not going to have those crazy sacrifices, but he's so quick and so just calculated and controlled that I feel like that consistent style in a 30-minute match is very, very valuable. So look for him to progress in this competition. I think that matchup against Tang is pretty much a coin flip, whereas Firouzja and Nakamura, find themselves as more favorites going into those matches.
Yeah, and even Artemiev said as much when we asked him what he thought about playing against Alireza. He said, he's going to be the favorite, but he'll try his best. So we have 4 exciting matchups in store tomorrow. And before we go, we still have the Trade of the Day segment. we would like to show you this presented by SIG, and it was, a moment that we can't forget, right?
Yeah, no, this is take you guys back to what Robert and I found was the moment of the match, and especially the trade of the day. We see the liquidation here on f8, and Bortnyk just forgot about this bishop d6 idea. And after rook takes f8, those are the kind of trades you like in life, Robert. Knight for me and nothing for you.
Risk-free, it sounds good.
Exactly. Rook b6, and here was the moment that rook d8 was played. Now, probably expecting the move c5, Bortnyk then played rook to b4, and as we heard Nihal mention on the broadcast, bishop takes b4, doubtlessly his intention. Bishop c5, probably the worst mouselet that you could come up with in this position. And instead of playing rook takes c4, winning the bishop, maybe going on to win this game on time, come back in the match, Robert, he resigned the game on the spot, expecting his rook to be taken.
It's one of those moments where you tell everybody you can't win a game that you've already lost, but at the same time, there's that match clock that you can't forget about. So he was resigning to save time. And unfortunately for Olexandr Bortnyk, he could have saved himself there by winning the piece back. But Aman, that's the type of day it was. The type of day it's probably going to be tomorrow. I am super pumped for the quarterfinals. If that wild card round was any indication, we're about to have a wild time tomorrow. It's been exciting. Aman, it's always a pleasure having the call with you. I don't even know how to wrap up the 4 matches that we just saw.
Yeah, it's been a truly incredible day. Definitely a bit of a different taste to Bullet compared to the long Swiss qualifiers that we watched, which were exciting in their own way. We were watching, different games from every player, just trying to keep up. This, I feel like it's almost felt like a much slower pace, even though we're still playing Bullet chess. It was some wild moves, some fast moves, some crazy blunders, resigning in drawn positions or better. I felt like we got a little bit of everything today. And, if Nihal, his comment was any indication that he just wants to play better and better chess every day, well, that's what you can expect from the Bullet Chess Championships. Better and better matchups every single day as we get into seeing some of those players that we haven't seen yet. Hikaru Nakamura, Daniel Naroditsky, Andrew Tang, Ali Reza Firouzja. We'll start to see those guys matching up against our qualified players.
For sure. We have so much fun left in store. And on behalf of Chess.com and the partners from Susquehanna International Group, I thank everybody who's been tuning in, who's been supporting the broadcast, all the moderators, the old chat, the community, the producers, you name it. We do appreciate you. But Aman, our time for the day has come to an end. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, say goodbye to the chat, and please come back tomorrow. It starts a little bit later. So please keep that on your calendar. Go to chess.com, look at the news, and a reminder before we go, it starts at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. It's 3.5 hours later than it started today. You will not want to miss it.
No, we'll see you guys then. And for now, Robert, it's been a pleasure, buddy. We'll be back with the calls tomorrow.